up, everybody? It's Axis and Worlds Only. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday. What's going on, homie? How you doing?
I'm doing well, my brother. How's everyone in the chat doing out there? Welcome.
Hope everybody's doing good. Wow, 40 seconds in already, got about a 30 heads in the chat. That's great. Welcome everyone. This is gonna be jam packed as usual because there's just so much going on right now. It's kind of crazy, right? Uh, Crypto seems to
Yeah.
be booming, man.
Mm.
Even NFTs are catching a bid right now. It's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, it almost feels like there might be some I don't know, like a longer term uptrend play here. I don't know. Well, I'm looking at the charts right now and I'm seeing the same triangle pattern forming on all of them at the same
All
time.
of them,
So,
right? Yeah. What a
so
surprise.
they all run together. So,
Exactly. Exactly. It's pretty
um,
crazy, right?
don't be in the slowest horse. I don't know. I don't know. Something like that.
My bad, bro. I'm sorry to the Europeans, but you're gonna have to blame Maxis, man. It ain't my fault. Sorry, bro. I had to throw you under the bus on that one.
I'm totally oblivious.
Oh, you missed it. We got my boy Crypto Profeta out there in Holland. I think he's out, or the Netherlands, one of the two. And
Yeah.
he's like, it's 2:35 in the morning, bro. He's like,
Oh,
he's
shit.
going to sleep.
Oh my God. Yeah, bro. If it's getting that time of day and you got stuff to do tomorrow,
Yeah,
please do yourself a favor, man.
yeah,
Sleep is important.
yeah, yeah. Just rewatch the stream, bro.
Yeah, man.
Information ain't changing
We
overnight.
aren't gonna be warming up here for like a half hour, 45. So it's like just wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
The good
Yeah,
stuff's coming.
yeah.
I mean,
I was talking with some. Go
Oh,
ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you.
No. It's not important, bro. It's not
The
even
hex
hex
price
rate.
chart's too exciting, man. I can't stop thinking about it. It's like the thing
Naturally,
is
right?
like I mean naturally like I mean I'm getting calls all the time from people that aren't really into
Hmm.
crypto. I'm seeing like real world advertising of it.
Right.
I'm actually running into people in the wild that are mentioning
In
it,
the wild. Listen to this
and
guy.
it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm starting to smell some virality around the corner, so it's exciting.
Yes,
And
sir.
I don't know, like the price, like it's just doing its thing.
Sweating it.
It's not really, yeah, it's not really like doing like anything out of the
Much.
ordinary is what I'm trying to say. But
Mm.
we're all seeing the gains, and it's a good time to be a hexagon, and it's a good time to be stacking T shares on these pullbacks. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's interesting you mentioned that. Somebody was asking me yesterday about T shares, right? And how is it that, because I guess for some people it's hard for them to conceptualize that the dollar cost of a T share does in fact lead the dollar cost of a single hex, right? Because it's so different in like, look like a T-share costs 4 digits, right? And the hex costs cents.
mhm.
So I get that. Thanks for the super chat, brother, or the super sticker. Appreciate that, man. Um, and it's a very simple transmission mechanism, right? The only thing that maintains the value for the hex coin is the T share rate, right? If it wouldn't be for the T share rate, people would have no need to buy hex. Like it would just be
Mhm.
like any other coin. And I think it's important people understand that one specific facet of the situation right there, right? Because
Mhm.
that's the whole crux of the game theory, in my opinion. If you
Yeah,
don't have
sure.
that T
Mhm.
share rate, right,
Sure,
you
yeah.
kind
The
of don't.
inflation is like where the value is in this system. So,
Right,
like the
right.
guys that get the inflation first and get to sell it first get the most benefit from it. But the thing is that
Hmm.
the system does that for you and gives you a
Right,
chance to get some, print your own inflation. And I mean, that's the whole value proposition. And it rewards you for being in and committed to it in a very um, exponential way, right?
yeah,
For
for
those of us
sure.
that have experienced it firsthand, what starts off, as a couple stakes that don't really earn you that much, like over the course of like 9 to 12 months, that flat price appreciation just all of a sudden. starts curving up at like a very quick rate. Like it's hard to explain, but like your earnings, they don't seem like they're like, for new investors, it could seem overwhelming at the cost of acquiring the T share, for example. But you got to keep in mind that that's not the value proposition. Is that you can get more at a discount essentially, which gives you further stake in the system farther down the line. You're getting that you're beating out inflation. You're beating inflation for like less input. So like that's like and what it does is that deferred inflation, like that's not coming into the system. So like when you look at like the stock to flow chart for Hex, you're seeing us, and Gerardo just posted a chart similar to Wales' stock to flow chart that shows
let's
us
go over that too.
trending.
I'm pretty sure he posted it on his website by now, right?
I don't think it's on there yet. I think he just put up a video like a little bit before we went live.
Okay.
But I did catch it, and
we'll go there anyway.
It's just interesting. You know, it's what it's telling us like right now based on like the rate of inflation in the system, because you know the amount of stakes in the system are starting to run out, like for the immediate future. So there's just really there's gonna be a supply shortage, and because the yield really is that good, irregardless of Pulse Chain or any of that, which is going to also be a pumpamental on its own right, you're going to start to see moves towards higher levels, both to protect the yield from other whales' yield, because as more and more bigger whales start to try to enter, they're going to want to price them out so that they can't take as much of their share of that inflation.
Which is funny, right?
Right. So it's really they're fighting over a price that can only go up. And so,
I wonder if they know that.
There's just so many layers to this system because it's so deep, and the game theory is so good. But really, the best strat, in my opinion, is to DCA in and just be adding right now, because we haven't even got started yet. I don't think. Yeah.
No. I don't think we have. And just a little update for those of you that go to go.hex.com, just because I mentioned it to Axis right before we went live. Brother, it turns out that the big payday inflation print is no longer on go.hex.com. So that 183 billion number will not be known to those in the future.
Why would that be? That makes me very curious.
I mean, unless you're looking for it, you're not gonna find it, I guess. I'm guessing it's just. I mean, big payday was a one-time event, right? I don't think that's gonna be something you're gonna find much information about anymore, just because of that.
I mean, it could be. That marks the start of this whole system. Really.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, that's the way I like to think of it, anyway.
Well, I mean, the chart looks like it anyway.
Yeah, it does. That's kind of why I like to keep it there mentally. It's kind of like what makes sense, because what we had at the beginning was a lot of like wish-washing around, kind of sloping around, kind of like water in a tub that couldn't stay still. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the swings were huge back then in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it was like a few people, like maybe like a few insiders, or not Richard or his dev team, but just like outside of them, a few insiders like figured this thing out right away, and so they were willing to accumulate huge stacks and move the price 60, like huge 600% moves and shit over few weeks. So for sure, definitely. And they wanted to get it up to like that unit bias level, right? They wanted to just get it up there. And then like I'm sure Godwhale was like a whole new buy, right? So now whoever was pumping before had competition, and all you need is two whales, man, splashing around.
Well, hold on. Remember that chart I showed you before we went live? I mean, we're not going to show that, but just remember it, because that was a holders chart, right? A change in holders.
The platinum chart.
Yeah, that's not even. I don't think there's a medal for that chart. Yeah, like that chart is not even going to be shown. You're going to have to like pay buku bucks for that one. Like, that one ain't coming out. No.
Yeah. You need a 15-year, 1,000 T-share encapsulated stake transmitted over to Wales' possession.
That's highway robbery. I won't do that.
Oh.
That's just murder. That's murder. Oh man, that's funny though. Good stuff, man. This Hex is crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm just thinking, man. It's you were talking about wells accumulating, and we got to realize this one very important thing. All the whales that have fiat haven't come into the system yet. And I'm not even talking about entities or institutions or anything like that. I'm just talking about people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about that
Yeah, I mean,
enough.
that's pretty much the people that drive that first retail adoption. Before a
Hmm.
dumb retail gets in, smart retail gets in. If you are, I don't know what they would be called on the streets, but
Yeah, I don't know either. Actually, they're all retail to me. But yeah, uh, those are the. You're right, though, right? I mean, there's
yeah.
levels to every game, to every facet of the game, and it does apply even to the retail aspect of the game, right? Even like people like me were buying AMC when it was $2-3, right? Then people later on came in when it was $9. Just happens that way. And that took years, right? And that's just the way it goes. But you have to understand the game, right, to be able to even do that in the first place. The average person, they're just gonna buy $2-3, maybe sell it for 5, and think that they did something great. And then
Mhm.
the next thing you know is at 50. Go figure,
Mhm.
right? But that's just what comes with experience, right? And
Well, you know,
you
too,
know,
Rails, with
go ahead.
amazing thing that I'm starting to figure out is that like a lot of your normies, they just don't they don't even they can't even comprehend the gains. Like it's like hard for them to
No,
imagine.
no, no. I mean, it was hard for us to imagine, bro.
Well, no,
Remember at the beginning?
yeah, and like you've been in markets for 10 years, but imagine this though.
Uh,
Imagine you don't know anything about markets. So like
right.
you've only ever traded your time for a wage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
this is almost looks like from that perspective, this looks like a complete scam. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
That's
no,
what it
no,
looks
no.
like.
That's a fact. That's why before anybody even knew me, I literally spent 60 days trying to poke a hole in this thing. Spent 60 days trying to poke a hole in it, right? Every which way I can think of, OA nonsense, everything, right? Everything. And you know, even though I didn't know the numbers on the OA, for example, it's just the logic behind it all.
Mm,
It's impossible to refute, and that's impossible, right?
mm,
This is because the logic dictates the math,
mhm.
right? And Kareem talks about this all the time. Shout out to him. I don't know if he's watching or working or not. I know that man be working, so I'm bothering him. But that's important, right? Because logic is everything. Um, this is the biggest thing with the system, right? Like when you have a layman's guide for Hex, right? And it talks about a lot of things incoherently because at the beginning, a lot of the system just didn't make sense. And it took time and activity and engagement with the system in order for people to really understand it. And it's like you said earlier, right? Once people kind of understood and they were around first, then they kind of realized they had to go in with size, and they did, right? And that's kind of where that big pump came from in March 2020, probably April 2020, because that was already a few months in at that point, right? I mean,
Mhm. Yeah, the system
yeah,
was generating yield and like the payout per t-shirt sum was like going up at a pretty it was like at a 45. So you could see the system accruing value fairly soon. By the time you
Yep,
were
it didn't
getting
take
like
long.
two or three coins per share, you could already start to see the potential, you know,
Right,
of
right.
what you could get out of it if you were like really tied into this and trying to figure the system out. So those people that were figuring this out back then, holy crap, props to you.
Yeah, it must have been fucking crazy, right?
Like I
Because I mean,
literally
this
was just
is
moonshotting. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was just like day one and day two, I just put money in it and I walked away for like 8 months. And then after the big pump is when I started to look at it more.
well, right. I mean, it happens, man. Because I mean, we're used to what we're used to, right?
Hmm.
So that's
I mean, then
completely fair, right?
not even 8 months later, after watching literally hundreds of Hexicans go live and talk about this product from different vantage points, did it take me to jump on here to give my unique perspective on this from a Bitcoin mining perspective, pretty much. Because like I was like used to be a maxi, as did many others, I'm sure.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, you can see that this is just a whole bit, just a better way to do an economy. Hmm.
Yep, yep. It is what it is, man. I mean, it's hard to refute the evidence, right? And this is what we might get to that, we might not. Maybe at the end. Um this is what I've been talking about a lot lately is how we have 635 points of evidence and now 636, right? We got the price of Hex. We got all these different, like we got a whole matrix of data, right? That proves that Hex is a real deal. So all this nonsense, like literal nonsense about it not being the real deal is just super funny, right? Because I'm literally looking like right now as we're chatting here talking about this freaking thing. Uh, I'm looking at, let's see, 636 rows with let's see, I'm trying to count the columns here. Give me a second. Hold on. 38 columns. So do the math, right? 636 multiplied by 38, and that's your dimension of this data field. You're gonna sit here and tell me, all right, minus a few that are mine. So let's say 30 just to be fair. There's more than 30, but let's just say 30 because it's still a big number, right? And this is how things are looked at in the real world,
I
FYI.
got 24,168.
There you go. 24,000 data points, okay? Points of evidence that cannot be refuted. Where the haters at? We're still waiting. We even did a stream for y'all. Y'all bitches still ain't showed up.
Your only bet is to get enough coins that you could try to fucking sell down the price like 85% off and try to scare people somehow. That's your only bet. Good luck. There's too many people that have seen bigger dumps in this like 7 times over already. So it's like there is nothing holding this price down.
Nope. And you know what the funny thing is? The majority of the people in the system have been in for longer than 2 months. So you could break it by 85% and nobody gives a shit. So good luck. Because over here, we stick to math and facts. And none of your emotions matter. It's a beautiful new world.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I've never felt more free myself. So I'm out here fucking slinging the good word.
I mean,
saving lives.
It's one
dude.
thing to be, I mean, we do it in a professional way, right? While we do talk shit, while we do it, it's well within reason and logic. Because again, we have 24,000 data points to refute all hateration. Do you guys understand what that is?
Out of here.
I mean, that completely changes the narrative, right? This is what people need to start saying the next time haters come up. We got X number of days times 30 freaking data points saying you're a liar and you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I had this like profound thought about signaling, like you're saying. Think about it.
Hey guys, I'm gonna get a better mic, but I can't promise you guys anything on the fans. All right, the computer is like a machine. It has 8 cores, and you guys just deal with it. All right, I'm not getting less cores, so good luck.
I'm not down regulating my cores, bro.
All right. But I'm sorry in advance.
Shit. All right. Well, no, you sound good tonight. It's all good. You must be, I don't know, not having like a bunch of tabs open or something.
Actually, that's not true. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
We'll take it as a sign.
So,
life is good, man. We're at 24 cents as expected. Shout out to Markable Thoughts.
Markable, what's up,
I know his ass is asleep, but shout out to him. It's a good day, man. It's a good day, We're just making new highs. We're gonna keep going sideways till we make another one. Just buy steak and chill, baby. Not much else to do. I mean, it's lullaby music, really, right? Like we have these streams just really for the new people. If you've been in this system long enough, you just watch this for FOMO, really. I mean, what more do you need to know that we haven't told you already? So
yeah, I mean, the payout per T-shirt online tells the story. The inflation tells the story, essentially.
Yes, sir.
Which gets into the central bankers part, right? Because that's pretty much what we're trying to rug is the...
Correct. Rug is the right word. I mean, imagine that. We do the rug pulling this time around. How amazing would that be? Wow.
It's in sight. I think we have
Wow.
tools now that are being developed to help us like achieve something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
When I say
Yeah,
we, I
yeah.
mean just like any freedom-loving person globally.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
that's what I'm talking
this
about.
is the, and I've been talking about this a lot lately too because it's important for people to realize, right? And I think a lot of us get it, but maybe some of us haven't realized it yet because it even took me a while to realize it. But it's very important because we have all of these things that really come and intertwine with crypto, whether we want it or not, right? And we just saw how they tried to railroad the whole industry just for fun, and we haven't heard a thing since about it. Funny, huh? How we've no longer heard a thing about it, but it's there. It hasn't gone anywhere. They're still trying to play games, right? And that's important. So don't lose sight of the ball just yet. But understand that the system will still exist no matter what they put on paper. So much luck once again, because the facts don't give a fuck, right? And this is what it's about. It's very easy to sit there and pretend you know what's going on when you're just really some geriatric fuck that doesn't know anything, right? I mean, fuck. What else is it, right? And I love old people, but when you're an evil cocksucker, you're nothing to love. I got elders. I respect my elders, but these ain't elders you respect, right? And I think everybody sees that at this point in time. And if you don't, well, you need a motherfucking lobotomy because ain't nothing helping you. You just a lost cause at this point. Jesus
Or
Christ.
maybe these people just don't understand this how it works.
Well, hey, much luck to him, man. Because
Yeah.
if you think people are just telling you can't breathe is right, you need help. You
Oh,
fucking
you're
need
yeah.
help.
Also, yeah, that whole thing is
Yeah.
kind of nuts. I would just portray. If I would, I'm not a medical professional, but I recommend breathing through your nose with no covering over your nose, just because you're
Yeah,
trying to
I
breathe
don't.
air into your lungs so you can get oxygen to perform operations properly.
Yeah,
I don't
all
know if
BS
I don't know why
aside,
that should be,
I
a
don't think you need to
question.
be a medical professional for that one. But just saying.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's almost funny, man. But this shit is crazy. We even have to have these conversations because they're real,
mm,
incredible. Anyway, but yeah, man. Hex just keeps crushing it, man, and all of this validity, right? That we've always been saying that the chart is gonna give the product, no matter what anybody says it does. Guess what? It's happening because that's how the shit works. Nobody actually gives a shit about marketing until they hear something about something. Then they see it and they're like, oh, this shit is real. That's how people think. People don't think
mhm.
forward, they think backward, man. You know what I mean? And it's important people understand that, especially when it comes to markets. Because when it comes to markets, you must understand it's not really zero sum. That's actually a fallacy. It's a market, old as fuck market fallacy. It's old as fuck and it's a fallacy. Why is it a fallacy? Good question.
Because you can take a position at different points, and then it's not a zero-sum game. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
You say,
because nobody lives on a fucking same timeline, right? We
right.
all have different lives. We all enter orders at different points in time. And by default, we also exit orders at different points in time. So nobody's actually eating anybody's lunch. Big fallacy. Even if you're day trading, you don't know if the person you actually sold to, right, is a long term holder or buyer or whatever. You don't know. You don't actually know.
You could have sold to a bot.
You just don't know, right? And that's the thing. Markets are no longer zero sum game. And I think they stopped being zero sum as soon as they went electronic and then gave people the mobility of time, right? When you're no longer restricted to time and a trading pit, right? That's fucking, I don't know, 12 by 12 and 50, 100 grown ass men and women are just sitting in there, right? There's no real uh
A lot of
zero
friction
sum
there.
anymore.
There's a lot
Yeah,
of
there's no
friction.
real
It's
zero sum
slow.
anymore.
You know, like
Right.
there's a lot of arbitrage that could be had in that slow ass, like clogged
Correct.
up system.
That's right.
The internet, like in the widening of the pipes of the internet, it's like turning that process into like a flow of a river. so that the market can have like a constant flow from rainwater down to the earth, back into the river, and then up, heat it away, and then just the certain cycles of any market, right?
Yeah, pretty much how it works, right? I
It's
mean,
like the market should reflect real world data. It should. But we're going increasingly
um,
farther away from that because of central bank planning and inflation and
right.
stuff like that. So you're not getting real world valuations of things. The problem with is that we could get so far abstracted away from real world value that we could outpace our technology's ability to compensate. But that's not. I don't really see that as a threat right now, just because it's like a brave new world, and then there's all kinds of new technology that's going to be coming out for
Right.
the next 50 years. And crypto people are going to like initiate that, as well as like any innovator in an industry. There's just all kinds of new sorts of information flows now that are
Mm-hmm.
allowing like new ideas to come to light.
Yeah, I mean, it's important,
Hmm.
right? I think that's very important because without that ability to keep an open mind, um, what are we doing, right?
Yeah, we just got to think broadly about the future and just try to position ourselves. We got to. We're Hexicans, so we're already positioning ourselves from the future. In our just staking decisions alone. And then if you extrapolate that out further and try to be healthy by eating healthy and exercising and trying to grow your brain by reading or watching instructional videos or whatever it is you like to do, or just practice your hobby or passion.
Mm.
It's all reflective of the financial well being is just as much of the psychological well being and vice versa. So you're
Oh yeah,
making
that's a fact.
decisions when you're feeling good about yourself and vice versa. It's like a self fulfilling prophecy.
Yep, 100%. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Because I mean, you think about it, right? And I say this all the time too. Uh, you trade how you feel, right?
Oh
You do
wow,
things how you
man, that
feel.
hit deep, bro. For sure. You want to
Hmm.
go into detail on that, maybe?
Hmm. Yeah, sure, man. It's kind of important to understand because a lot of the time we seem to think that we're thinking clearly and we're actually just acting irrationally without thought, right? Because what ends up happening is you're thinking that you're thinking, but in reality, once again, you're looking in reverse.
Oh wow,
Because
yeah.
what
Like you're
right,
losing your
because you're
edge, right?
yeah, because you're letting something drive your thought. You're not thinking before you're feeling,
Uh,
right? Because
yeah.
it's
Wow.
easy to think you are. It's easy to think you are, but you're actually not.
Yeah.
And that's important to understand because that's how you don't get lost,
Yeah.
right?
And then you don't want to always be thinking you're not, because then you're never going to make good trades or good plays. So it's like that.
Yeah.
It seems like you've got to be this like nice little somewhere in between. By the way, try to stand on that balance on that for
Yeah.
months or years at a time. That's very, very difficult.
Exactly.
You have
Yes,
like an
sir.
entire tsunami below your feet that you're trying to surf on, and eventually your legs are going to get tired. So if you make a few, like in the trading world, you make a few good trades, you wait for a good setup. It could be days, could be weeks, could even be months till you get your
Hmm.
perfect setup. But depends on how you like to
Facts.
trade it. But that takes, anyway. Hex takes all that out of the equation. You don't have to think about that stuff because
Well, it's not anyway. It's actually important, right? Because that's a big chunk of the reason why we do what we do. At least I
well,
think. I know it's a big reason
you
why I
know,
do what I do.
you know what? It is a good point because if you can think about everything that you do in life as like a trade that you can help, there's two ways to look at it. There's like just the trade, and you always want to trade up, and you always want to like be in a position where you can benefit from the trade, right? And that
Hmm.
means like if
Hmm.
you own a house, you're gonna wait for it to appreciate, or if you own a house or you have a mortgage on a house, then you have new, and then it goes up in a value, and then you can lend against the equity on it or borrow against the equity on it, or there's different plays that you can make to put yourself ahead
Hmm.
with that kind of leverage. Or like in the other case would be with like what T Money was saying about how you got to be building these really solid relationships with people and building out your network.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
synonymous. Like the network, as your network of friends, of trusted, reliable, high quality, very skilled resources starts to build and grow. This network of people, it's gonna the other things just come because you're surrounded by these good ideas. You're always thinking
Right.
it's really just like in my
And
experience,
tools
it's
and resources, right?
I mean, it's like it makes my neurons start to fire, is what I like to how I like to say it. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
because
inspiring
you
being
know you're
around
not
people like that, man.
limited, right? Because you're not limited, and that's kind of important.
No, man, because like there's so many people out there with so much data. Like it's just like, wow, I could learn so much. It's like I'm happy to be here, you know. So
Yeah,
pretty
I
amazing.
mean, look at what we're able to do, right? We were never ever able to do anything like this in our lives,
No, and I
right?
was
And
always
that to
encourage
me,
people to reach out, right? Be a part of this.
yeah,
Like this is an
yeah,
amazing
hundred
community,
percent,
and
yeah,
it's not too late to make your
never,
own footprint. You know,
never,
whether
never.
it's like you make merchandise or you sell courses. I mean, not that I'm not a proponent of something like that, but some people are really good at it. Or just build software or be of some kind of developer or help out in like the design chats or some of the other Telegram chats. You know, be streaming and hopping in on streams. All that stuff's good and helpful. Um, help get the advertising out there and onboard people and help change people's lives, dude. That's all. That's all this is
This
about. So,
is yeah, this is the easiest and most difficult job ever because you're trying to actually help people, right? And some people just don't want the help.
yeah, like I said before, their people's worldview is so different. Like you have people on
Uh
such
huh.
polarizing worldviews that in most people's
Yeah.
reality bubble, they don't even see. They'll never come into contact with Hex.com
I
because
was talking
they're
to
not
somebody.
energetically there.
I was talking to somebody. Yes, was it yesterday? Let's see, Saturday? No, Sunday, Friday. I was talking to somebody Friday, yo, and it was astonishing to me the level of complacency. Like, fucking wow, just wow, right? Because complacency is dangerous. This is how
Yeah,
people, end up in trouble, right? And all kinds of trouble. Just things you never thought could happen to you start happening because you just sat on your ass and did nothing when an opportunity presented itself. It's crazy, but it's true. It happens all the time. And people just, hey man, more power to people that can live like that. I wish I could. That's all I got to say. Which is wild to me
a lot of
though.
people have to, with something like that. A lot of people have to live the hard way and go through a loss like that,
Yeah.
and then the next
Yeah.
time an opportunity comes up, years down the road, they'll take it. Not in all
Yeah,
cases, of course, but you know,
well,
people
here's the
learn.
funny thing. This is a person I've known for a while, right? And they know, right, like what I'm about and stuff. And even yet and still, man, it's pretty shocking. It's pretty shocking. You're talking about you're here saying, "Hey, man, look, I got the lotto for you," and they know I've been searching for this shit for eons, and
Haven't
like
we
nothing.
all?
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. But it's one thing to look, and it's another thing to find,
oh
right?
God, but that wouldn't that be unreal though? I mean,
I don't know, man. When you're looking for something nonstop, and I'm telling you, this person's known me for a while, so they know, right? Like they know, right? Like they know the ups and downs and all that shit. So they've seen, right? So they know, like they should know better, right? Like you would think, and this is what's so difficult about this game. It's kind of like trying to wake somebody up. You can't just do it. You kind of got to let them do it. All right. And that's while important to onboard, it's important to understand trials and tribulations of onboarding, right? Because while it's a sport, it's a difficult one.
yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because this is easy. People think you're trying to scam them or whatever, but you're doing them a fucking favor. You know what I mean? Like the people that listen, they're eternally grateful. Eternally. Like the messages I get are ridiculous, man. You know what I mean? Like I don't think of myself as no type of spy. I'm just like, hey, man, here's some good information. You might want to listen.
Mhm.
But people that listen are eternally grateful because they listen.
Yeah, dude.
Important.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that every time we go up we pump up another level, the more people are listening. It's
Mm-hmm.
clear. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's getting explosive. Like
Yeah. The math
I
is playing
wasn't.
out, bro. That's really all
Yeah,
it is.
it's not a joke. We tapped 50,000 stakers on a
Mm-hmm.
staker app. We're actually probably more than that overall, but that's a huge
Real.
accomplishment, and it's halfway to 100. You know, and we got. I think my goal in the I think it's February or March. I said if we could get to 100,000 by the end of the year, that'd be kind of like my target. So see if we can
Yeah,
get
looks
there.
like it's possible too, man. It doesn't look like it's really out of reach.
No,
Oddly enough,
I think we're up
which is
like
great.
20,000 in 90 days or something.
Yeah, it's some
100
crazy
days.
shit.
It's
It's something
fast.
crazy. Yeah, yeah.
So
It's freaking
in
crazy,
100
man.
days, let's say we 2x that, we go 40,000 more, and then we'll just all start making steaks at that last night 10,000 right at the end of the year.
And dude, don't forget the most important thing: bags are gonna get doubled. Forget that. I know I do.
Yeah,
I
dude.
forget
That's
that
another
all the
thing,
time.
guys. Anybody new that's chilling in the chat, the reason why you'd want to jump on Hex now versus waiting is because you're gonna get another copy of it, and those two hexes will trade on independent markets, so they'll have different prices, but effectively you're getting more money for getting in before the snapshot date for the new Pulse chain coming out.
Pretty much.
So
I
that's
mean, it's
key.
free. 1x. So not sure why you wouldn't want
Just
that.
off the top of my head, you could see 40x on Pulse next year. If you wanted
Dude,
to
there's no
get exposure to
telling
that.
what that's gonna do. There's
No,
no
there's no
telling what
telling.
that's gonna do. I mean,
I'm just thinking. I'm just using some simple math, and I'm comparing Ethereum models. That's where I'm getting that number.
No, I mean that's the thing. It could completely blow that out of the
Oh,
water.
I'm
Is what
being
I'm
super
thinking.
conservative. You know what? Fuck it. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
say
yeah.
30x. I'm gonna say 30x even. You know what? 20x.
let me let
10x.
me ratchet it down because it
Let's
doesn't
go
even
5x.
matter.
We'll probably do it.
Because we're
Nah.
gonna, I bet you we open at least at 2x from whoever sacked.
It should. Yeah. Yeah. It should be a nice pump.
That's what I anticipate. Yeah, because the demand is retarded. How are we still getting sacrifices after the thing's been over for 3
Forget
weeks?
those. You can delegate your stakes over there, so you can
Oh yeah,
earn over
earn
there
more
too.
pulse.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
I'm gonna be
nice. Yeah.
staking that, baby. Yeah, I'm gonna be
Yeah. If
staking
I'm
that.
sitting on
That's
some
gonna be
pulse, I'm staking it. I'm delegating it.
yeah, it's gonna be
So that's
fun.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
Well,
be
I'm
fun.
excited for Pulse Chain. I think the potential for that is increasing by the day. I
Yeah,
think if there's undisclosed products that might be coming out for it, in the not too distant future, that could be a game changer. That's going to be, not that I know anything or anything, but yeah, it's going to be amazing.
not that I know anything or anything. Okay, let's not make it super obvious. I have no idea what you're talking about, but what I can say is that there's a lot going on in the background because he would just keep making those kind of statements to the shit.
Oh,
So it's
shit.
obvious, right?
Oh,
So
shit.
I can't wait to see what happens because I frankly don't care what's going on. I have no control over it. I'm just here to enjoy the ride and educate. That's it. So,
Yeah. Well,
I think if we ask for more than that, you think you're being greedy. I'm
ah,
enjoying my
shit.
time.
Ah, shit. You better get a
I'm just
little more
saying.
greedy.
I'm
Be
enjoying my
greedy.
time, man.
Be greedy,
I'm
man.
enjoying my time. I know. Here's a cool thing. We happen to be involved in some of the best products on the planet, not just in crypto. I think this is very important to understand. And the reason I say that is because when you look at the quality, right? The quality of what we're dealing with, it's nothing like anything we've seen before. I mean, and we were talking about this on Twitter earlier today. And the biggest thing was that we were talking about how Hex never goes down. And the only other thing somebody could come up with that they can't remember has ever gone down, and I honestly don't use it enough to know. Give me a second. The only thing that they could think of that had never gone down and was always pretty much up 100% was Microsoft Paint, of all things.
I think I read that on a tweet today.
Now, look, I don't know how true that is because I don't use Microsoft Paint like that, but it's worked every time I've used it. But I haven't used it like that, okay? So I don't really know. I'm not like an avid Microsoft Paint user, but I haven't really seen or heard complaints about it either. So maybe it's true. I don't know.
Perfect program, Microsoft Paint.
Right. And now, right, we got Hex, right? I mean,
Killer app, man.
Yeah,
best crypto.
flawless uptime. Not a single hiccup, luckily, so far. 636 data points. Crazy,
Yeah,
right? Oh,
third
apparently
most
Notepad
used
is one of
ERC20.
them. Was that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
It's the third most used ERC20.
There you go.
Like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, people thought this was a joke 2 years ago. Now they're mad at the chart. How things change, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's just a simple function of choosing to be ignorant. Nobody here is calling anybody anything. We're here sharing relevant and factual information. This is a very important distinction, right? Because again, we're handing it out. You can't get this kind of shit for free anywhere else. And it's very important to understand that because what's free is usually discounted. Happens all the time. I see comments that let me know that people just aren't paying attention when I speak, and that's okay because I'm nobody, but it affects your pocket and it's math, so you probably should listen because it's gonna hurt you if you don't.
I mean, I
Because
would
math
understand
doesn't
if that was
care.
like your first video, but this has been going on for
Yeah,
like over half
yeah,
the year, so and all the calls
yeah,
have been pretty good. And by the way, the chart, it's obvious where that it's obvious that it has to continue to go up for some time for
yeah. I
most of
mean,
us. But
yeah. It's just those things, right? It's so hard, right? And I get it. It's hard to believe that something like this exists. I get that. I get it. But you just gotta come to terms with reality. It just exists. Like nothing we can do about it. It just exists. And then the best thing we can do is appreciate that it does and take advantage of that fact because what if we don't? And the next thing you know is $1, $10, and what? Then you'll be mad. I know I would be mad. I'm glad I got what I got. What I buy now doesn't really make a dent in what I have, but it adds up, right? And that's all that we can ask for in reality.
it's
So
really gonna make a dent here. Like in a couple of years, you're gonna really notice that
correct,
this mattered back then, or it'll matter.
correct,
So
correct, correct. But that's important to understand, right? That's an important distinction to understand because while some of us might have been around for long enough to where what we buy now technically doesn't really matter. It might be 2, 3, 5%, but it's never really more than 10% when we buy at that one point in time because it's so much. Like I was doing the math today and I thought about like what I would have gotten if I would have came in with my money now, right? Versus what I actually have. And bro, I gotta tell you, it's less than 10% of what I currently own.
yeah, it's
That
crazy.
shit hurts.
Mhm.
Yeah. That hurts. That's why it's important to understand the math because I own a whole lot less than what most people already own by the time I got in the system. And let me tell you, you don't hear me complaining.
Mm. No, like you can do
Very,
very well in the system with just like a T-share.
but that's the point, right? The point is to understand the math because we can talk moon math all day. Who gives a shit? Everybody does that. That doesn't add value. What adds value is understanding what you own because what happens
Your
is you dump it.
your chart is real data, like factual data, but the factual data is actually moon math, bro.
But the point is, bro, is that it's math, man. That's the point,
Oh my
right?
God, it's amazing, dude. It's amazing.
It's fucked up, but true.
It is. It puts the dichotomy.
It's fucked up, but true, right? Because it kind of makes you think you're crazy, but you're not. That's just what makes sense. Because think about it. What else makes sense, right? What else realistically makes sense besides
It isn't a 401k.
investing? Right.
You know,
Like,
it isn't
how cool
shorting
is
the
that?
stock market.
Yeah, it isn't. It
Hardly.
isn't doing anything that can basically harm you financially. Like
Yeah.
that's important, bro. Like somebody was asking me today what they thought. What did I think was the biggest risk in Hex?
Mm.
And I legit told them, and I said this in some other stream I did, that there is negative risk in Hex if you're staked. Negative risk. That's right. Negative risk. Right. And if you understand how fiat works, then that should be obvious just based off of that alone. And then take into conjunction the fact that you get paid every day if you're staked, which just gives you additional buffer daily to
Yep.
beat inflation.
And
What more can you
eat a
ask
decent
for?
chunk of a sell off.
I
You know,
mean,
you can eat those sell offs and it doesn't hurt as bad because you've been accumulating the whole time.
yeah. I mean, and then, okay, so I forgot to add this. Let's add to the fact that when prices going down, which does not happen enough in my opinion, yeah, I said it. I want the price to go down a lot because that's how we win. Because guess what? You can then buy more. Oh my God, imagine that. Because the thing you have to understand is no matter what happens, the price has to go back up. That's what you people have to understand. It's not my opinion. Look at what the price has done. I told you at 12 cents, that was it. 24 cents, here we go. What more do you want? You need to understand that this is all math. Your opinions don't matter. My opinions don't matter. Nothing that we think matters. The only
Mm.
thing that matters is the math, man. That's why 100% in 1 week. Oh my God. It's not rocket science. This was designed to work that way, or 2 weeks, whatever it is. But boom. And that's how it works because it's building value over time. You have to understand every time price is going down, what are you doing? Every time the UTC crossover happens, you're getting paid in hex. Now, when you're getting paid in hex, what you just do? You actually just bought the dip because at that point in time, you receive X number of hex at X price or at Y price if you want to think of it like that. That's fine. But right, you bought the dip. And that adds up over time because you're buying the dip every time the price goes down, which isn't even often. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
It's important to
Like,
get
damn.
it's important to get in on the dips.
Oh yeah,
It is.
extremely important because you're adding to your
That
position.
adds up. Yeah, that adds up big time. Like buying the top for fun is fun and everything, but you know, if you can get like a limit order in on a nice wick, it can be a game changer. You can
Yeah,
double a stack of money. Amazing.
that's what Big Payday was for me, right? And if you're not familiar with Big Payday, let me just explain what that is real quick. Big Payday was kind of like what happens when Bitcoin halvings occur every 210,000 blocks. So what happened at that point in time was on November 19th, 2020, Hex printed out or minted all the inflation that was left, all the coins that were left in the system came out, which was approximately 183 billion coins on a single point in time. And when we go through our charts later, you'll see what I mean because the data shows it, right? And this is why I go over it because the data is going to show it and you're going to ask, well, what the hell is that big ass spike? Because you can't just hide data here. The data is everywhere, right? And this is why we don't understand the haters and the scammers are lying because the data is right in their face. All they got to do is look for it. I found it. It ain't that hard to find, clearly, because I'm no Inspector Gadget. So what's so hard? I don't understand.
Do-do-do-do.
Yeah, well, here we are. Go Gadget Go, right? Shit. And yeah, I used to like that show when I was a kid.
Oh shit. Yeah, that was a classic.
Yeah, that's a classic, baby. That's a classic. I like to think that that has helped me learn a lot because, man, people just ain't even as smart as a cartoon. I mean, what in the fuck? It's like, it's just crazy, bro. Like, yeah, how dare you call something with the most transparent data set in crypto a scam? It's just phenomenally crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, I could
Hmm.
talk so negatively about that instance right there that it's just like, really? You're gonna really talk down 24,000 data points that are on the blockchain just for fun? Huh. How is that gonna really work out for you over time? Exactly. Because that's what's actually that's what's happened over the past 2 years, right? Like that's literally what's happened over the past 2 years. Very important we understand that. Because that's crazy. That just goes to show how easy it is for these people to lie. Imagine what else they're lying to you about. Imagine if they're willing to lie to you to keep you poor. Imagine to keep you wrecked. Imagine what else they lie to you about. They have no concerns, no qualms, lying to you about anything to keep you poor. It's important you understand that because if you don't educate yourself, nobody's going to. And yeah, I might be on here talking, but guess what? I was listening to guys like me back in the day. That's how I learned what I learned because they told me where to go find information. Because the reality is that nobody's gonna tell you how to get rich. You have to figure that out yourself. We could tell you the kingdom come, but you're gonna have to make a decision yourself.
Yeah, it really is that serious. Can make you rich. Can make you rich. What you do with it after that is up to you.
Correct. I mean, this is why we talk about all these things, right? We try to separate crypto from all these things, but you just can't, man. You just can't. Having discipline is important, right? Having work ethic is important. Understanding what's going on is important because you can't just be some slouch and think you're just gonna get away with murder, right? And murder is basically a life hack to wealth, right? A life hack to wealth means you didn't have to learn anything to attain it. People got to understand that. Because what that means is that you're not ready for the money that you just acquired. And what that means is you need to get ready. Because if you're not ready, somebody's going to come and take it from you. Because guess what? That's how it works. That's the real zero sum game.
Yeah, it's
Zero
crazy.
sum game,
If you don't have enough guts to stand on your own 2 feet and protect your stash, like somebody will try to come take it from you. Yeah, that's no doubt.
This
That's no joke.
is this is why we have governments actually, because that's already happened. Uh, yeah, that's what happened there. In case you're confused, that's what happened there, right? Like this has already happened, and this is why it's important people understand that if you're not careful, it's gonna happen again, and you're gonna do it to yourself. It's not even gonna be anybody coming to come take it from you. That's the funny part, and we're already seeing it, right? We're already seeing it.
It
So
reminds
you
me
got
of
it.
back when I was like just a middle schooler or high schooler, and I can always remember there was always one or two really good teachers that would like take you under their wing and teach you the things that other people wouldn't teach you. I don't know if you've ever had an experience like that before.
Hell yeah, sure did, bro.
Um,
Sure did.
but that is like something that, like, if you've never had that before, where you have a mentor that you look up to that can teach you things that you otherwise wouldn't have figured out. Those are the types of people you need to gravitate toward. Um, I personally had teachers in school, a couple of them. There's a lot of crappy ones, no doubt, the indoctrinated ones. There was always like one or two people, and whoever you find yourself intrigued by, you should get to know them and let them guide you in a way and be open to new ideas. But it wasn't until like when I got into Bitcoin in 2017 that I met a couple of older gentlemen I worked with at a previous job, and they both were investors of different kinds. One was real estate, and one did commodities trading down in the
Mm.
CBOE for like I don't know. He was down there for like 34 years or something. But this was before I had any knowledge of trading at all. And long story short, we made a deal. Um, I was just a dumb little broke pleb, dude. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. This guy probably thought I was all about mining, and he's like, "But why wouldn't you just trade the coin?" And it was funny. And anyways, we made a deal. Like after about a year later, that once I made my first million, that we'd go to Macau, and I can safely say that we're almost about ready to go to Macau. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's sick, bro. That's a sick story, right? I mean, because that's what it's about, is it not?
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah. It's
mean,
amazing, man.
so okay. How? All right. So this is a little segue into something non-crypto related, but also crypto related. Because you have to understand that, however you have found this space, right? You found it for a reason, right? It didn't just happen by chance, and that's important because what that means is that you have to take advantage of this opportunity and time that it's presented itself to you. Take advantage of it. This is why I took the risks that I took when I found Hex, and I said the hell with whatever else I had going on, and I dropped everything, and I haven't picked it back up since, and it's been the best decision I've ever made. It's beautiful, right? Because that's what it's about. It's about taking calculated risks. Taking calculated risks is how you attain success, right? Finding that freedom. What is freedom to you, right? Freedom to me is not having to worry about a lot of things that I had to worry about before, right? And that to me is important. So, what's freedom to you, right? And that's important. How else are you going to
Freedom
find it if you don't define it?
is being able to become free enough that you can start to worry about the problems you want to solve instead of worrying about problems that shouldn't be problems at all.
Boom. There you go. I agree 100%. I feel like I'm already there, which is great, right? Because that means we can move on to bigger and better things,
Yeah,
man.
dude, I'm
And
definitely
that's what it's
never
about.
been more motivated
Hmm. Hmm.
to speak truth, truth to word, and learn and grow as a
Hmm.
community. You
Hmm.
know, we're kind of tied together now for a while. Oh,
Correct, correct. It's funny because I say all the time, I could stop streaming right now because I don't need to stream, right? I already know this shit I'm teaching people, but I can't, right? How fucked up would that be? All right.
morally bankrupt, bro.
Correct. Yeah. That would be so fucked. That
Yeah.
would not be cool at all. No. So I say it to make a point, right? And that's all. And that's important for people to understand because it's true, right? The point is that you can't just dismiss things that present themselves to you when you didn't even look for them in the first place. The best things in my life have come to me when they presented themselves and I wasn't looking for them. And Hex is the most latest acquisition. So take heed because look at what it's done. And this has just been in 9 months, right? Like my gains for me have been ridiculous just in 9 months because I understood at the beginning what most are unwilling to want to understand. And that's important because that's
You
how
know
you
what the
separate
word
yourself
comes
from
to
the
mind,
crowd.
Wales, and
What's
in
up?
that instance is impossible. That's the word that comes to mind.
What
I
do you
think a lot
mean?
of people
Everything's
have a,
possible.
well, I mean, I would agree with you, but there's a lot of people who let impossible be real.
Ah, yes. I was one of those people, so I will not disagree with you there. That is a true mental block, right? But I
Ah,
think, yeah, right? That's a mental block
mm.
because what you're doing is you're telling yourself, hold on, guys. Jeez.
Man, I could go on and on about mental blocks when it comes to like athletics or gaming or any kind of performance sport. Once you get good at learning how to create triggers that you can get over mental blocks with, you get better and better at overcoming them quicker and quicker to the point where you can actually deal with more and more increasingly challenging things in real time.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful skill. I used to have issues with mental blocks myself. Kind of like freeze up. Man, it was just a function of lack of confidence in myself more than
Right.
anything else, right? That's
And
really
that was a
all it
function of
is.
your intelligence because
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
you're intelligent, you are more empathetic and you think more about the other people's perspective. So,
Yep.
naturally you assume that other people also are thinking that deeply about things, and so things can
Hmm.
be emotionally jarring for you who thinks that everyone's a lot smarter than they actually are. It's
Correct.
interesting, and then when you start to find family like this, it's completely different. Everyone's processing at a high level and having good input, and it's completely different.
Yeah,
Total game changer.
it's fucked.
Hmm. The
It's so
internet's
fucked.
crazy. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so fucked because again, and I say this all the time, right? When I was in Vegas, man, just hearing the conversations, just the boilerplate conversations, right? Not even we're not talking about live streaming. We're just talking about just regular, simple old conversations, just people having a good time, just talking, right? Whether we were at the Bellagio, just standing in front of a Rolex or whatever, just regular conversation.
Meeting RG3
Everybody,
in the bar was that was fucking awesome, dude.
yeah, that
He
was
was
cool.
a riot talking to him.
Yeah. But the whole point is that everybody was on the same page. How rare is that? That's almost impossible.
It's really uncanny and surreal because these people that you when you meet them, like I feel like for I'll give you an example. Big Pep. I listened to him
Mm,
over the winter before I started became a streamer, and and I felt like I already knew him. And when he and I got
right.
on the same stream together, we just were talking like we knew each other. It was
Mm.
it's
I
crazy
mean, it's
how
natural, right?
and all these people they're just you meet them in person. It's like you didn't even skip a beat.
hmm Just
Mhm.
picking it up where you left off, really.
Well, we're all seeing the same thing. If you were in
hmm
this early, you're seeing the same thing. It's amazing.
Correct. 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 It's not. It's not. It's not the hardest thing, in my opinion, for people that were in early, meaning like before me, is for them to understand how high the price can go. A lot of people really are mentally blocked by the unit bias as well. And
For
I get
sure.
it.
And can I add something to that because it's interesting that you bring
Sure.
that up. You know how like the dollar continues to go down in value, but
Yeah.
what actually you're seeing is because the dollar can't change in unit value, but what can change is your price of your goods and services.
Yeah.
So like you're not seeing your dollar go down to like 99 cents and then 98 cents or
Right.
something. A dollar's a
Right.
dollar, which is it's so
Correct.
crazy how
Correct.
that has been made the norm. But um, it's crazy to me. Like the Hex is designed to as price it's with unit bias so that as price changes, the actual it's reflected in the unit bias of the coins that you're
Yeah.
using as a daily USD equivalent, right?
Yep.
There's these epochs that is built into it, and so there's like an evolution of the monetary system. It's like everyone who's in it grows
Correct.
as it grows, and
Correct.
the dollar is
This
just
is
completely
that's
the opposite.
important,
It's
dude.
built on decay.
Do you realize how important what you just said is?
Yeah, because the U.S. dollar is built on a system of debt and decay,
hmm
and this system is like a fountain of youth producing wealth for people,
Correct.
and it's
Correct.
designed to do it. So I don't think it's a
Correct.
joke. I wouldn't be out here saying the same damn thing every Sunday night, you know,
Literally.
if I didn't
Yeah.
think it was important and it wasn't going to be impactful, you know. And there's a lot of other good ideas that comes with that. So
Right. And this is why we can talk about, excuse me, so many different aspects of the world, right? And how Hex makes it easy to evade their effect, right? Like, let's talk about just a certain asset class, for example. Like, the most common one people think of is real estate, right? People think of real estate all the time as a safe, secure asset class that provides stable cash flows, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But if you own physical real estate, the reality is that you have to deal with tenants. And if you deal with tenants, that means you're dealing with people, and dealing with people is a fucking headache. And everybody knows that. So while you're receiving income, right, you're getting paid from your tenant, whatever the case may be. And this is assuming they're not behind on their rent, right? Because that happens, of course, from time to time, because the real world is the real world. And unfortunately, that happens to people. So what are you going to do? Right? Just evict them if you can, I guess. And in some states like New York, that takes 2 years. So what are you really doing? All you can realistically do is just try to get them to pay, right? And then you just got to wait. That's it. And that's a headache. Because guess what? You got to come out of it. You got to cover those costs if you don't own it outright. It's not free. You took a loan from the bank to finance that property that you're getting rent on. So you thought you was playing a man, but the man played you. Go figure. Another system loop, right? That you thought you found, but it just had another catch 22 that you wasn't ready for. And that's just the kind of thing that you have to understand happens out here, right? No matter how good an investment is, there's always downside risk. And the reality is that with Hex, man, I've been looking for 9 months. I don't see it. I don't see it. If you're telling me the guy that created it is a risk, you're a moron. You're a moron. Right? How
I agree with
how
that.
how yeah, how is that a risk? I don't understand that. That's like saying Bill Gates is a risk to Microsoft,
Mhm.
or Jeff Bezos is a risk to Amazon, or Daimler and whoever the other guy, I think it was Daimler Chrysler, I can't remember the last names, are a threat to Benz. Like, that's just dumb. It's clearly dumb. It's entirely stupid and moronic. So that's
I
not
just had
even
kind of
in
a
my.
thought from El Hexadene. I don't mean to cut you off, but this is
No,
like
go ahead,
crazy.
bro.
Think about this. He says you can't even evict squatters in Cali now.
Yeah. Yep.
What is that really
True.
saying about
Capital.
your permissions, like your rights? You know what I mean? It's like, what do you
Yeah.
actually own? I think there's definitely a push to make people own nothing or less. Clear
Yes.
to me
That's
that
right.
there's a lot of institutional buying of housing. That's not
Yes.
like unprecedented,
Yep.
and
They're
I
definitely
think they want
pricing
to create
out
a
middle
renter
market
society,
buyers.
and
Yep.
it's not really going to be like I can see a world where renter society works, but it's just there's a lot of other things that comes with that that's going to change too. It's everything can become less can become more frictionless in that world. Like everything, imagine a world where everything's an Airbnb and you just basically show up at the front door and you swipe a card and then you have like a certain social credit status rating that makes you more or less a good candidate for X property at X value. Like I'm talking about the digital identity world where
Mm-hmm.
there is
Yeah,
really no
like
ownership.
China or whatever. Yeah, like China.
Yeah. Well, I mean, things like crypto or things like some of these technologies that are getting built out are totally capable of running a world like that. It's a question of whether or
Hmm.
not that's the kind of world we want to live in.
Correct. And I think the answer there is a hell no.
It depends on who you are. Some people you ask, they want a more isolated, you know, just live in their little house and get food ordered to their door and just be on the internet
I
all
mean,
day.
look, that's not realistic because what happens when the internet or the power goes out? You're fucked.
Well, someone has
So
to do the
get the
hard
fuck
work.
out of
Somebody
here.
needs
Yeah,
to.
it's just dumb, bro. I'm sorry. That's just never gonna work. Like grown folk are not letting
There's a
that shit
lot of
slide, and I'm one of them people.
you
Nah.
know that Rome fell, right?
Yeah, that's cool. It's already falling, bro. And that's exactly why, right?
Right, but you
Because
see what
people
I'm
think
saying?
that shit makes sense. Yeah, but that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we have the society we have today. Because people think sitting on their ass makes sense. And
I
it
just don't
does,
think people
cool,
think,
if
man.
you got the money. Well, I mean, you could say that, but I'd say otherwise.
I just don't think people are, and I'm saying generally, like large swaths of the population just aren't aware or thinking about.
Anything.
There's no direction. Like
No,
half the
there's no
country is
mental.
divorced.
Yeah.
Half the country is divorced.
Yeah, I
That is
wonder what normal
that is
people
the
do.
confusion, man. That is people that are confused.
Yeah, I
I
wonder
think
what
that,
normal people do. Really
you
do.
know,
Because when you
I'm
sit
not
there and
for or
think about it,
against. I'm just saying.
well, it's not about being for and against. It's about what's happening, right? And it's happening.
You're
So
seeing the breakdown of the family unit. You're
yeah,
seeing unprecedented debt
that's
and
yeah,
external stressors on our economy.
that's all a function of economics, right? Just the family unit itself isn't sustainable, right? Like now, multiple families have to live within the same housing just to be able to afford it.
Yeah.
What sense does that make?
Especially true in the very populated cities, of course, and out in the
Yeah,
rural areas, it's not as bad.
not big of an issue, no. But again, the majority of the people live where?
Are so packed
In
like sardines in
cities.
the cities. Yes.
That's right. That's right. I think it's 80 to 90% of the global population lives in a damn city.
Hmm.
So yeah, you're all pretty much fucked. So yeah, it's a problem, man. It's a problem. And it has to be understood, you know. It's fun to talk about all this and that, but there's serious responsibilities that need to be accounted for that just aren't, and somebody has to do it, whether we want to or not. So
Bree thinks a war is coming. I think a war is already here.
yeah, the war's already here. So if you missed it, I'm sorry, but it's already here. The war is already here, and if you haven't noticed, it's called the information war. Why is it
Yep.
the information war? Because everything you know is a lie and completely wrong. This is why you're in crypto, because you realize that a dollar does nothing for you. Saving in dollars does nothing for you. 5% a year does nothing for you. And that's if you're lucky from the market, right?
Crypto
That's if you're
is a
making money.
peaceful political
Yeah,
statement. It's a way to
correct.
it's a way to rug the evil doers and make things, attempt to make things right. I really do believe
Correct.
that. It's not some
I
like
believe
pie
that
in the
as
sky
well.
fantasy bullshit. Like I do believe
No.
see it. I see it happening. So
Yeah. I mean, it works, right?
mhm.
Um, you could easily install, right, some type of come on, why is this being annoying? You could easily install some type of code, right, in a blockchain to that disperse. Like, let's say you wanted to create a city that all you had, because think about it, you don't actually need politicians in a city that runs on blockchain for what? Assets are dispersed. Assets would be dispersed by the blockchain to the representative departments, right? That facilitate civilization. You don't need people involved for that. You just need motherfuckers to sign the damn transaction. That's it. You don't need no politician for that. That's an administrative role. And in fact, in case you're unaware, politicians are just administrative personnel. They're not supposed to be telling us what to do. So again, go learn your damn rights and stop believing the lies and nonsense. Thank you. But it's important to understand. Seriously.
You want to know some
Right?
nonsense?
What's up?
In my old warehouse job, first masks were optional, then masks were required, then masks were taken off, then masks were put back on.
Wow. Wonder what's up with
And during
that.
that whole process of time, we had an extra hazard pay paid to us for the first year or so. The mask came off,
What?
and the hazard pay went away. Right, the mask came off,
Uh,
the hazard pay went away. Then the
that's
mask came
funny.
back on, but the hazard pay didn't come back, and that's
Didn't
when
come
I
back.
started to turn my head a little bit, and I'm like, of course, I premonitions. It's like, is this really what was coming down to? Is like, did everyone
Yeah.
forget that we were getting paid extra for like an actual threat, and then all of a sudden now there's no
It's all
threat, but we're
good.
still wearing these things? It didn't make any sense to me.
Clearly not. But that's how they roll, right? Like they're literally just trying to get you into the mood, right? Like, hey, let's give them a year of this shit so we can let's get them to deal with it for a little while longer if we can, and if not, we'll just put a gun in their head, see what they do then. That's literally the decision making process. That's where we are at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
This is why crypto is trying to get thrown under the bus. Like, you got to be a fool to think it's not related. Seriously, it's all related. Like, don't lie to yourself. There's a reason you haven't heard anything really about it in the news lately, right? And they're just trying to pump the suckers into NFTs and shit now. What do you
And
think? Is
then
it a coincidence?
I'm having my thoughts on NFTs are constantly changing. Um, that space is literally infinite in capacity. Like I'm starting to see actual real world use cases.
Sure. But it's not 99% of the market, bro.
No,
Like, that's my point.
no.
Right? Like, people aren't buying the useful shit. The useful shit costs money, bro. They're not buying that. That's not the shit that's selling for 140 ETH or whatever. Right? Like, the bullshit is what people are buying. Like, I saved somebody from fucking buying an NFT. Get out of here. No, what are you doing? Throw money away.
The problem is with NFTs is their valuations are arbitrary. Like they
Of
can
course
go.
they're arbitrary.
It's hard to explain like how. It's
No,
just
no, it's very simple. It's whatever
Supply and
somebody
demand.
thinks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's whatever somebody thinks. If a lot of people think that shit is worth money, then you're gonna pay more. That's all. If nobody thinks it's worth a lot of money, you're gonna be the only person paying for it, and you're gonna pay
Yeah.
whatever you think is fair.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how markets work, man. It's very simple. It's not harder than that. So this is why when prices skyrocket, is because of people wanting to buy the shit. It's not for anything else.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think people should be like jumping into that stuff necessarily. But I don't know.
No.
It could be fun just to waste money over there, like gambling or something.
Hey,
I mean,
man. Yeah,
that's what you're
that's
into.
fun.
I'm
There's
not
a,
really.
there's
I
a
personally
million
wouldn't.
different ways to do that. Yeah,
I just
there's
feel
a
like
million different ways to do that.
You could wait like just a couple, buy some hacks, wait a couple of years, and then buy like way more, waste way more money if you want it. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's the funny thing, right? If you buy Hex, stake it, and wait a couple years, you'll probably be able to buy all the bullshit NFTs you want.
Yeah.
Buy all the bullshit
Buy them
NFTs to
all
your
for
heart's
top
content.
dollar
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Fucking pay him a premium if you fucking want. Who gives a
Yeah,
shit
yeah,
at
yeah.
that point?
Yeah, man, because you, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're
People
the
be
fucking
coming to
man
you
at
for
that
loans
point,
and
right?
shit. Yeah,
Yeah. You're the man or woman at that point. You can buy whatever the fuck you
100%.
want. It's not even gonna matter.
Yeah,
So,
goes back to my old thing about t-shirt holders are very powerful.
hmm.
Very, very powerful.
I mean, and
Keep
again,
them
it's
stay alive.
simply understanding the math, man. It's not anything else, right? Like I've done videos alone just on t-shirts, and maybe you'll jump in with me on the second one, and we can talk about maybe staking strategies, like how you want to roll them. Like for me, it just makes 100% sense. And this is just a little off topic. Uh, to stake them, and if you're doing a short stake, for example, say you're doing 60 days, or I'm sorry, not 60 days, but 180 days, for example, right? And you want to do shorter, right? You're doing 180 days, you're doing 90 days, you're doing 30 days, right? Let's say you're doing various days. You want to actually do the longest stake first, right? You want to be able to, if you're setting up a short stake ladder, like less than a year, for example, you want to set that stake, right? That longest short-term stake, you want to set that one up first. And the reason being is because those T-shares will age the longest anyway. So those will be the ones you'll want to benefit from the most. Go ahead, bro.
100%. I think that first steak should be your longest one, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a fat one either. It could be any amount.
Mm.
It's the most important one. It's the first one you do.
Right, but I'm just speaking from a short-term perspective,
Yeah.
like less than 365 days, right? And I just mentioned 180 days just to throw it in the middle.
Mm.
But the reason being is because as those short stakes are rolling out, let's say the price does pump something crazy,
Mm.
right? Just to throw a random scenario out there. Then what? Then you got all this expensive X that you're not gonna need. So you
Uh-huh.
want to restake that for longer.
Yeah.
Why not? But if you need it, then you just need it. And then as the price goes down, then you're just stuck
Yeah,
anyway.
dude.
So
Actually, now that you say that, t-shirts haven't gone deflationary yet, so there's a lot of different plays you can leverage. I agree.
yeah, for now, yeah. For now, and that's what it's all about, right? But that comes from understanding the system and understanding that it's math and not really anything else. And it's kind of boring, but it is what it is, and it makes money, baby. Boring makes money,
Mhm.
unfortunately. So being the what are you gonna do? I'm actually almost done with the charts, but give me a second because I'm in the middle of.
Sweet.
Yeah. They're looking good, man. They're looking really, really good. I gotta say, the data that's available is just phenomenal, and this is the kind of stuff that's just startling to me, right? Like I don't even have a crazy website with a whole bunch of stuff or anything like that yet, but the data is out there. What is wrong with people? Like, why are you acting blind? Like, if you're getting paid, man, just say it and just leave us alone. Like, it's okay. Like, is nobody mad at you, man? It's just crazy, bro. Like, wow, crazy, man. Wow, crazy. I don't understand. I don't understand. I really don't. I really don't. But that apparently is people. People are gonna make arbitrary, right, weird, senseless decisions just based on emotion. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream too, right? Like, you got to think. You got to think. This is what separates winners from losers. People that make, you know, uh, you want to buy Bitcoin at 65,000, you're gonna pay the price. Like, what do you expect? Like, what do you expect, right? If you're listening to TV for financial decision making, you got problems that are bigger than losing at 65K. So What are you gonna do, right? It's just those kind
Where
of
would you
decisions.
start somebody off if if they don't know anything about markets?
Oh, very simple. You're gonna automatically talk to them about the dollar, and they're gonna understand that the dollar isn't worth shit. Everybody understands that. That's so simple. No matter what conversation you're talking about with respect to money, you have to always start, in my opinion, with the it's a simple fact that fiat ain't shit. Everybody knows that. Everybody can relate to that. Who doesn't know that? Even a little kid knows that, right? Because little kids are seeing that their toys are going up in price too. You think a kid ain't seeing that? You crazy. Because mommy and daddy ain't paying for that shit no more, right? So they're noticing. So don't think kids don't even know. They know. Everybody knows, bro. It's just a matter of explaining to them what the hell is going on and why. Most people don't have a clue and they're like afraid to ask for some reason. I don't know what's going on. I've always wondered, and this is why I know what I know because I'm not afraid to ask questions. So, it's one of those things that I kind of wish people just did more. If we were just all a little bit more inquisitive, life would be a whole lot better because people would not get away with murder like they do. It's crazy. I mean, really, murder. This shit some of these people get away with is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But all in due
Yeah, I
time,
mean,
my
we're
friend.
engineered to be consumers, man. I
I
don't know if we need to go
guess.
down that rabbit hole, but
Are we? I don't know.
we're
I'm not.
designed to just get. Well, yeah, no. Every person's different, man. But a lot of people gravitate towards one thing
Hmm.
and they switch over to the next thing. And they do that for a while, and they
Yeah,
switch over to the next thing, and they never really
that's
settle on
true.
anything fulfilling.
That's very true. That's very true. It was even I was like that for a little while, but I think that was just a function of me searching more than anything else. I didn't, I hadn't found my rabbit hole, so to speak, or what I was searching for. Right now, I found Hex, and I'm dedicated to educating people about what they need to understand. That way, they make the right decision and make it based on math because it's not even based on anything I'm saying. It's actually based on math because I'm just sharing the math, right? And that's important because at the end of the day, everybody has to make their own financial decision no matter what you and I say, right?
Yeah,
Like,
all those thank you letters and talks I've had with people, they're awesome, and it's part of the reason why I do it. But also, I always tell people it's like congratulations to them for having the foresight to take the leap and to try something new that
correct,
their intuition was telling them
correct.
maybe they didn't have the courage to do. It's always up
Yeah.
to them to make the decision.
Yep. Very important. Very important. Because what are you doing otherwise? You're just letting somebody else make it for you. Then what? Right? Not
You
looking too
get
hot.
you get raped by middlemen all over.
Yeah. Yep. Because that's basically what's happening. Because they're sending you that way. They're not doing you no favors.
Yeah.
They're really
Yeah,
not. Sorry
man,
about that, man.
crazy, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Crazy.
really wild when you
Like
sit there and think about it.
we have like so much momentum already,
Hmm.
with the Hex community
Yep.
that
Yeah.
I feel like we're quite capable of like going to space, man. Like we can,
I think we're
Saturn
already
is a
well on
good
our
target.
way, bro.
Uh,
Think we're already well on our way. Interestingly enough, we're definitely past Mars, right? We're past parity with
shit.
T share versus ETH, right?
Yeah, man, I can't wait to see the charts tonight.
uh,
We got that nice
uh,
pump, and now we're getting a little pullback, and it's going to be cool. This is
hmm.
all healthy structure being built. Okay, I watched Crypto
Oh,
Jenkins
it's
today too. That gave us a nice little price update on some targets and stuff, and a lot of that drew confluence with what I've been thinking for price for some time, actually. But
nice.
yeah, I love
It
it, man.
sucked that it took so long, right?
Yeah, the sack phase um, was brutal, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Nature of the beast, baby.
I I would anticipate more big sells like that in the future. And just, to have your limit order set, at every certain level, you go up a certain percent,
Hmm.
have some limit order set down. Um, don't wait too long if you don't have exposure, get exposure. Obviously, market buy, but um, buying Hex now is like it's like buying Ethereum back at like $15 back in the day.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I was just thinking back to when I bought, and just like the average person, man, I thought I was late, right? Because everybody else had these big ass bags, bro. I had some baby bags compared to everybody else at the time. But hey, my bags ain't so babyish no more, right?
Nice.
And but again, that's a function of understanding, right? Doing the due diligence, right? Not getting swept up by
Did you
bullshit.
say how much interest percentage wise of your portfolio is interest
I
off the
think
top of
it's
your head?
about 18-20% already. Let me see.
Wow.
I could do it real quick. Yeah, it's up
I
there,
wonder
man. The
what your
last time I
average
checked.
stake start date is.
Well, it's got to be pretty high because most of my stakes are 15 years. So by default, it's pretty
Start
high.
date, like when you started. I wonder what day on average you started them.
Got you. Give me a second. I'll tell you in a minute. 27.
Yeah, that's interesting, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were able to amass a pretty sizable bag in a short period of time, and a lot of that was just letting the interest do the work for you, and a lot of that was adding at the dips. I'm sure.
Yep.
Never bought it.
17.4% or 17.5% is interest alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think looking up that hexcalc.net website, that thing is awesome,
yeah,
bro. It really
yeah,
shows
yeah,
the
yeah.
power of the compounding.
Yep. It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, so if
You
you haven't checked
can't.
that out, go to check that out, people.
Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, you gotta go check it out. You can't refute the evidence, right? Because again, it's just taking the math and it's putting it in front of you. It's not even doing anything special. But it's like, well, you got nowhere else to do it, so it's great. So have at it, right? And that's important because it's about experiencing, trying to conceptualize, understanding, right, exactly what's going on, or at least trying to. So that way, if you can't, you can at least have some questions that maybe help you clear up where you're not understanding. Because nobody's here to keep anything from you, to the contrary, right? And that's important
No,
because,
it doesn't pump my bags to hold back information about Hex. No, not at all. So I wouldn't do it.
I mean, it
It's
doesn't.
dumb. Like, look, if I care about myself and my own financial well-being, and I'm trying to help you as well, then that should be reaffirming. You know what I mean?
You would think.
Because of what I'm saying. Like, if you
Yeah,
you gotta
obviously, bro.
respect
Most people
yourself
don't
first.
do it like that.
Yeah, no, you
Yeah,
gotta honor that.
yeah, you would think. I mean, it's funny, man. Like right when I first found Hex, and I've told this little story before, but for those of you that haven't heard it, or maybe even forgot it, and get ready for a nice laugh, uh, this guy at work, he professes to be some type of, like he knows what he's talking about. Whatever, he doesn't. I told him about Hex, right? And as we all know, we're all looking for this. Once you realize what this is, you realize you were looking for it too. And the guy just turned it down, and that to me was super funny because all that told me was that, oh my God, this is a win because I already knew he was a fade because he don't know shit, right? And it's just about understanding the person across the table from you sometimes, right? Because once he told me that, yo, I already knew this was a winner. Like I explained it to him, and I knew what I was saying. Like I knew I didn't explain it messed up because I explained it simply, right? A CD pays X, whatever, whatever, whatever. Now, all the basics, right? And I kept it real plain, using our vernacular, so it's not like he was even confused. And still, bro. And that's when I knew game on. Game on. Game on, man. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I mean, personally for me, it was like the highway was opening up, right? And like all the traffic jam was clogged up. Because it's one thing to be like, and I have experience with this, right? So for me, it was exciting because I knew, right? Like, I just told this dude all this legit factual information. Odds are he went online, looked up whatever, found some information, didn't like what he saw, and that was it. Another Googler. Man, them people gonna learn eventually. They are gonna learn eventually. So
Okay,
hey,
go. Let's go.
everything, yeah, everything with time, man. Everything with time, right? And that's just what we have to understand. And this is kind of the synopsis of both stories, right? I've been in for 9 months, more than happy. You just gotta wait your turn, just like everything else, right? We don't like to make lines, but guess what? Sometimes we got to.
It's really not that long for most people. 9 months flies by.
It's not for the gains I made. Nope. Real short, real sweet. Beautiful thing. Something to relish in, really,
Mm.
because again, it removes a negative element out of your portfolio. Like, if you think sideways price action is a negative, then you need help. So I don't know what to tell you.
What's
Like,
amazing to
there's
me
no
is that
saving.
like a 10 to 20% sideways is a sideways movement in hex, and that's the norm.
Yeah,
Because in traditional markets back in, even just 10 years ago, even that was crazy. That would be crazy, right?
yeah. That would cause hysteria. 10% move, or hell, a 20% move is defined as a bear market in legacy finance. Actually,
Yeah.
as crazy as that sounds. Now, I want to talk about something that Mr. T shares brought up, which is kind of important, and I don't want to leave him hanging. And I just do really want to talk about it. Um, and I highlighted it earlier. His question was something to the effect of, I don't like it was a statement to start with, and it was a statement that started with unpopular opinion. I don't like how t-shirts are going up so fast. Um, can you talk about why, like all of that? And I know it sucks, brother, but that's a function of the network effect, man. Now there are more people in the system, right? Oh, we missed some super chats. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Wow. Um, funny. Oh, appreciate the super chat, guys. Thank you. Um, it's important, right? This is this is key to understanding what we're talking about, right? Because the T-share rate defines the system and how it operates. Interestingly enough, right? Shout out to you, Crypto Footsteps, and sorry for keeping you up late. Hopefully you got up early. I don't know, bro. Damn, crazy.
Oh, the good old 4 a.m.
Um,
days.
yeah, I don't miss that shit, bro, at all. Nah, nah, nah,
Pretty sure you streamed
nah.
till 4 a.m. on one occasion, if not more.
Yeah. I've streamed late, but I'm not trying to be up late. Just streaming on a regular basis. So,
Yeah,
yo,
no
what's up
kidding.
with? Oh, I think one of my links are busted, man.
Oh,
No, fuck. All right, I'll try to go get this data, but I'll do another chart in the meanwhile. I mean, if I can't show this, then I'll just remove it and figure out some other way to do it. It's the expiring shares chart.
hmm.
For some reason, XVision isn't letting me see it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Firebun.
it's this.
Why isn't it working?
Yeah, I might have to hit up Firebun. It's like the site is down, Hex.vision. Maybe he's working on it.
It's all good.
Yeah, because it's not pulling up. All right, well, we'll skip those charts for this
Yeah, it's all
session.
good.
Yeah, it's
Good
all good.
peoples know the gist, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it in a little detail though, right? Only because it's important. Um, we'll get to that little communication, Black Eye brother. Um, Only because it's really relevant to everything that we're doing, and it's important that people understand what's happening at that point in time, so they don't get spooked or frightened. because now you have your money in this electronic system, right? And then it's like, well, what the hell? Well, don't worry, it's just gonna be temporary. Well, back to the T-share rate. So the T-share rate, right? It sucks that it's going up so fast. I get it. And it's already pretty high relative to where it started, right? Like it's already 85.5% above where it started at a rate of 10,000 hex per T-share. Now it's at 18,545 hex per T-share. That's a lot.
It's almost up double.
Yeah.
And
Almost
so, but
100%.
that's the crazy thing is like that it's doing that as well as the price of the coins, the shares going up in dollars as well. So it's like, whew, that thing
Getting
goes
there.
up quick. Yeah,
Getting
and
there.
what's the bigger? They're both of them are moving it up quickly. You know, the good thing you have to note is that there's probably not a ton of expiring shares coming out. There's a few more big ones, but I don't know how big is that rolling wave. We got to check that out and kind of assess, what we
Yeah,
can
we'll check
expect
that
on
out.
a consistent basis as far as there should be an average share rate increase over time, right? Like a percentage over a certain rolling day
Uh,
amount of days.
I can get one.
Yeah,
Sure, that's another chart, baby. Why
that
not?
sounds like it would be a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. I'll do it right now while we're going over the other ones. Why not?
Ooh,
Um,
new chart,
yeah.
boys
Let
and
me make
girls, new chart.
sure. Let me just make sure I don't have double charts here. What the hell's going on? Give me a second. But yeah, I'll whip that up
What
real quick while
factors
we talk
exactly cause
about
the
that.
T-share rate to increase?
Easy.
It's only one thing. It's when somebody ends a stake,
Hmm.
the share rate goes up.
Yeah. So the way it works is that you start with a certain number of T shares, right? The system takes into account your return on investment, your ROI, and it scales down the quantity of T shares you can reacquire for that specific stake session, right? For the next iteration, you can only acquire a certain number of T shares now based on that ROI. So that means that you've been reduced based on the fact that you already earned, right? But in reality, it's just because the system has increased that much over time because you've been in that whole time. So the system isn't really doing anything but aligning you with what's already happened. But that's how it works, nonetheless. So it is what it is. All right, I forgot what I was gonna look up. My site. Yeah, chart is correct. Uh,
Stake size matters much, much less than the length of time that you stake for.
the shorter, the more important the stake size, basically.
Yeah, if you want to get yield in the system in a short period of time, you're going to need a lot more economic weight. You're going to need hundreds of thousands of dollars, US dollars, or millions of US dollars to get meaningful positions out of the system every 30 to 90 days
Yeah.
at
And you can
current
check
prices and
out,
at current yields and whatnot.
yeah, and hex.net is a great, I mean, hexcalc.net is a great source for that. That's why we were talking about it earlier because it gives us the ability to see, right, what we need in order to achieve whatever goal we're trying to achieve, right?
Correct. Each
Um,
person would
yeah,
have different needs because the coin can appreciate so fast. Maybe staking shorter is better, longer, depending on your bag size. It depends on how you want to play it, really.
yeah, very important people understand that because again, this is math, right? So you can literally work out what you could be doing in the future. Nobody can really do that for you. So it's important you understand that because, what we think is what we think, and what we do is what we do. And that's what makes sense for us. Hard to say what makes sense for you because that is a function of a lot of particulars with your respective situation. And I think that it's important that people realize that because even though this is crypto, What we're still doing here is trying to provide relevant information for you to make a decision, right? And that decision is very critical with respect to what you're trying to do. Um, so don't take it lightly. Educate yourself, right? Because if you do make this money, then what? Then you're met with a wall, right? And that's what you don't want. You want to be ready at that point in time.
Be flexible.
Um,
You know,
yeah,
back up, be secure, back up your words for everything that you all your wallets. Make sure everything's like secured, and decrease your attack surface. Make it so that this is a if you're just getting in, make a long term commitment to the system, and put it away, and then watch it grow for a while, and then start to let it snowball from there, because that's a lot of the experience that people have with it. You got to try it out first.
yeah. I mean, one thing I will say is I look at the stakes that end a lot, right? And you know, it's kind of interesting because you we kind of downplay these short stakes, but again, we've all experienced the same ROI that these short stakes have, right? So clearly they don't suck. The question is, well, what are you doing with those short stakes? Um,
Oh, good question. You know
right,
what I would do with short stakes?
right. I mean, we know, but the thing is like, yo, you still made right 60% ROI, right? So I guess the whole thing I was trying to get at was if you're new and you don't want to just do long stakes, that's fine, but you got to do at least 1 to 2 years. You got to. I feel like that's almost a gimme because you got to give the system a chance to do its thing.
Hmm.
Nothing worthwhile is going to happen in a week. That's luck. That's not anything else. Right. And I think that's important for people to understand because, people get dismayed. Like there was this guy, he was on Twitter boasting that he literally bottom ticked when he sold Hex and swapped it out for Bitcoin. He's not looking too smart right now. Right. And I'm going to talk about that guy all the fucking time
Brutal.
because he literally sold like 11 and a half, 12 cents.
Hmm.
Where we at now? Not that smart, are you, guy? Of
Do I do
course
I
not.
uh, do I know who you're talking about?
I don't know. Some dude on Twitter, bro. I have no
Oh
idea.
yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Probably. No
I
idea.
meant to say it, but yeah, I think I know
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy because, again, you're playing yourself because you're not respecting the math, right?
Come
And
on, man!
that's
Look at that
kind of,
liquidity pool, man. Look at that. I mean, if you're not respecting that, like, there's not many coins available. Um, all the metrics are saying price squeeze. All of them, everything.
yep. I mean, okay, so look, I'm gonna do it to you like this. I think we got about, let's be gracious here. Let's give it 75 million total coins outstanding. Be gracious.
Okay.
T-share is currently $4,000. That means the system has a financial capacity of onboarding another 18,750 T-shares thereabout. Because that's 75 million hex, right? Let me see, make sure. Three, 1, 2, 3. Yep, 75 million divided by 4,000. That's 18,750.
That's a metric that I haven't thought about.
That's one for you. I'll be making that chart. Don't worry.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Because these are the things people got to understand. That's real stock to flow right there. I wonder if that's what Gerardo was thinking.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I wish he had that chart up. Because I really want to understand that
I
stock to flow that he made better.
I think is. Let me see if I can send you a picture. Maybe you can.
Oh, wait, no, I think you sent me one already.
I did.
Hold on, I got to just save it.
Just a. He did two. He did another chart too. Let me pull that other I'll screen grab the other one too, quick. 'Cause I think he compared it to the market caps of gold, silver.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
we'll wait for
stock to
him
flow is telling.
to. Well, the thing is that you had all this supply come out, right? But so it's stock overflow. So if the value is increasing, that means the supply in the market is increasing over time, right? If the flow is increasing, then that line is going to decrease. This is why we had that big spike down and then up. Wait, you sent me a better one. Let's see.
So those two charts essentially show.
Okay, let me save these two.
Shout out to Gerardo and Hex Daily Stats for the data.
For sure.
Look into hex.com for anybody new who wants to look at some quantitative analysis on the Hex price chart and other.
Yeah, that's all of what you're going to see here. Yeah, Hex has the best websites, dude.
It really
crazy,
does.
right?
And of course, Wales. I mean, he's the one who fucking kicked it off.
Yeah.
Germans too. Germans were.
Yeah, the Germans really kicked it off. The Germans really kicked it off because
they whooped some butt in January.
yeah, their presentation on the conferences would really have my mind working for a little while, and I just couldn't really see all the data yet the way I needed to, and that's kind of what prompted me to, because I was trying to understand what they were saying, right? Because unless you understand all of the nuances, you're not gonna get it because there's so many different moving parts.
Yep. 100%.
And yeah, and that's important because what we're trying to do is different, right? I mean, just understanding the X price of earnings like sets you apart in such a big way because what you're doing at that point is realizing that the game has changed, right? Like at an all-time low in the what do you call it? And the S&P 500, the most you could do was 550%. I mean, that's insane. That's nothing, right? Like you're not making any money back in any period of time that's respectable. Like you're gonna be waiting a long freaking time. And that's crazy. Because now there's another completely new asset class that gives you the ability to make these ridiculous amounts of money and speed in times that just weren't humanly possible, right? You're literally traveling to the future with money in crypto if you pick the right one, because you don't have to wait your whole lifetime to amass wealth, right? And that's what makes it so alluring to people, right? But people don't understand that that's just what happened. It's not what's really going on here, right? What's really going on is that the fiat system is crumbling. And this is why you're seeing these ridiculous gains. It's a function of reality. Nothing else.
I call it. It's kind of crazy how it overflows into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes it makes me feel like I'm connected to something that's growing like so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it has real world impacts and effects on my personal well being.
Sure. I mean, let's think about it, right? We try to ignore a lot of things that we think don't matter, but crypto is one of those things that it can't be ignored. Just for the simple fact that of how it was created, right? Like it's literally a political statement, and that's what it is. Like, but it's money. Where do you think the money came from? It didn't come from it being cool, right? It came from a necessity, right? Like technology doesn't just happen because people are bored. People are driven to create these new innovations, right? And I think it's important that people not only understand that, but appreciate the significance of that, because that's what's going to set you apart in this game, right? Because until you realize what's going on, you're just like everybody else. And I think that that's important for people to realize, because you're trying to make life changing wealth. Nobody's going to give it to you. You still have to make your own decisions at the end of the day. What we know is what we know, and what we say is what we know, right? And we only know what the data shows us. And that's important, because it's the only data that's available, and yet and still people act like it doesn't exist, but it's there. So this is why we go through these little iterations of these comments, right? That sound like fluff, but they're important. They're very important because again, we could tell you what to do, but it's not how it works because you need to understand what you're doing. Because what if you need that money in 2 years versus 15? You're screwed, right? So those are the kind of things you have to take into account, take into serious consideration, because this is a real thing, right? And it works a certain way. There's rules, protocols, parameters, all of that fun stuff that determine what's actually going on here, which is cool, right? But it's also scary for some people because it implies commitment, right? Which a lot of people just aren't good with for one reason or another, which is fine. But if you want to be successful in this system, you kind of have to get over that, right? Like you can't
I
just
think they
let
call
that
it
sit
biting the
there.
bullet.
Yeah, you gotta bite that bullet, baby. And even for me, it was hard. Like that's when my first steaks suck, right? My first steaks are like 2 million, 2 years or something like that. Like yeah, they're like 2, 3 years. Like they're BS steaks. Like they're not real. Like they're nonsense, man.
I have a couple
So
short ones too, just for
uh,
financial freedom purposes. But yeah, I'm like most of my stuff's way out. That's where you're really winning with Hex is if you put your stakes out around. I don't know how much alpha I should drop, but I think I've been saying from the beginning, 15-year stakes are you have to have one because it just means so
oh
much
yeah.
in the future. Um, at any amount really.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep,
and
because
if
15
you
years is gonna do some
the
work.
10-year mark is good. So like if you don't want to wait 15 and you want to front run the inflation that comes out at the 10-year mark, um, maybe you do like an 8 or 9 year, which is almost the full amount of extra interest you could get anyhow.
Mm.
Kind of depends
I don't know.
on how you want to play
Yeah,
this the end stakes. So people will
yeah,
have. I think laddering out is the best. I think
yeah.
you should
Because it
weight
gives
it
you
past the average.
right. Because it gives you optionality, right? And that's what everybody needs to take advantage of. Because you're at a point in time in the system where it's the most optimal to do so. Because the T-share rate is still relatively affordable relative to the price of Hex, right? Because what's going to happen is that over time, the system is going to continue to get more expensive. That's not going to change. But so will the price of Hex, right? And with that, so will the T-share rate. And with that, so will the dollar cost of a T-shirt. And with that, so will the price of Hex, right? So you got to understand all of those elements in order to understand what's really going on in this system because it's important. Um, because it took a lot of us a while to figure it out. Um, it's crazy because it's beast mode, and once you figure it out, you're just enjoying the games, right? You're not even sweating it. It's it's sick, man. It's so sick.
Yeah, it's like the buffer that you get for staking for the long
Mhm.
term is enough to counteract any kind of downward. You actually feel more comfortable seeing downward because it's like, okay, this thing's just going to
Yeah.
steadily go up. It's not going to go vertical and crash to zero.
Yep.
It feels
It's a
more
beautiful thing.
comfortable. It's got a nice pace to it, and it's clearly picking up over months of time. So it's giving itself plenty of time to build good market structure. Love what I'm seeing in the charts. It's just bull flag after bull flag after bull flag.
It's like an onslaught of bull flag. Like they're just beating people with bull flags. It's funny.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe the ticker
It's
for
super
Hex should have
funny.
been BULL
Yeah, seriously.
or FLAG. Flag.
Yeah, flag, something like that. Because it's definitely not.
It's flagging, bro.
Yeah,
It
it's
should be
flagging
called
like
bro
crazy.
flag, bro. Bro flag.
Bro, flag, bro. That's a tongue twister, man. Couldn't even say that one again. All right, let me get these. Let me see what these charts are at. They should be done uploading. Okay, let's make sure they're in decent order.
Yeah, dude, bro flag. It's when all your homies are fucking picking up your cell loaders, just
Bro
buying your
flag.
fucking bags.
Bro flag. That's a good one, man. All right, let's see. Not in order. Give me a second. Hate when it does this. Yeah, why does it do that? All right. Should be in order now. Let's see. Come on. Where you at? All right. Give me a second. Just want to run through them, make sure they're all good. Come on. Damn, this website is horrible. All right.
I think
Of
Hex could be
course I
worth
messed
40
that up.
cents at the end of the year. Yeah, I think Hex could be worth 40 cents at the end of this wave 3, which could be,
Now.
time wise, it's 4 to 8 weeks, but probably more on the near to midterm. So 40 cents is like not that far away.
Nah, it's gonna
Doubling.
happen within the next 60 days. That's for
Yes, for
sure.
sure.
Just how Hex works. That's how Hex works. All right. This is the last edit, and we are golden, brother. Give me a second. Let's get this joint up in here.
Like it's unlikely that in 5 years the interest rate will be as high as it is now. It'll probably be lower, but getting in now guarantees that your Hex is worth much, much more. So effectively, your interest in dollar terms will be insane,
Yeah, I
regardless of that
mean,
fact.
yeah, timing is the answer. You got to really take this system as the same as a regular old compound system. And the reason I say that is because if you don't, what's going to happen is that you're going to stake late. And as we know about compounding, right, time is everything. And the longer you take, the less you make, or the longer you have to wait, right? So this is why you want to take advantage of now and not wait until later, because if you're afraid of that, then you should simply make a 1 2 year stake or a stake for whatever time frame, right, you think that you're willing to hold. But you got to pick one, and you got to just do it, because it's the same thing, because you're not realizing the mistake that you're making, right? And I talk about this a lot because it's really important. When you're not trading and you're just staking, what's happening is you're removing the downside element from your portfolio, because you don't win every time you place a trade. And whoever says they do is lying, because that's not possible. Literally not possible. Uh, been in the game
I could,
for over 10
I,
years. It's
I, I
just
can
not going to
remember
happen.
days where I would win like 9 of 10 trades, and the 10th trade would like erase my day's gains.
Yep. It's called decision fatigue. It's a real thing.
Yeah,
Real
brutal,
thing.
man.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And people got to understand that that's what's going on. Right? Like,
Also,
markets
trading
don't care.
cryptos and low volatility is just insanity.
Trading anything in low volatility is insanity. That's what people don't know. It took me years to figure that out,
You
but
need
I
to have
eventually did.
momentum and trend because then you can just make trades.
Ride the waves.
Mhm.
All right, so this is a stock to flow ratio. So it should be volume of something over the volume of something else,
I think it's
right? Or
against
the
market cap
cost
or
to
something.
something. Yeah, whatever it is. Um, but
Let's see here. Um, oh, it was the inflation rate. It was 100 over 3.69, like 100% over 3.69%.
yeah, but this number is changing all the time. This is the probably the 100 over 3.69.
Right.
Let me see. Where is this? That should be about 30 something, 27, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that's
like
what
the
that
middle.
value is.
Hmm.
Yeah, so basically that's fair value for Hex. Anytime it
That's
touches
if
that, that's
the whole network was staked.
right. But so so this is tracking 100% over the actual APY.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay, interesting. That's the funny thing, right? There's so many different ways of looking at this. I'm trying to understand why he's looking at Ether for. Um, eh, I'll watch the video later. I haven't had a chance to watch
Yeah, I
it.
haven't. I mean, I looked at it once and it was in detail. It was one of his most in detailed videos I've seen in a while. So it's definitely a good one. I want to go back and watch it again later.
Yeah. There you go. All right, here's the stock to flow, right? Just the typical regular old Bitcoin stock to flow cross asset model. I'm pretty sure most of you people are familiar with it. If you've been in crypto for more than a year or two, this is just common Bitcoin stuff that we all learn once we get into the game. And this is the kind of stuff, right, that kind of woke a lot of people up to the power of Bitcoin back in the day, because what occurred here is basically what I'm doing for Hex. It's just a realization that Bitcoin does have the ability to compete with these other asset classes in real time. And that's what you're seeing here, right? And interestingly enough, if I'm reading this correctly, I don't really remember a lot of this stuff anymore because I dumped a lot of this Bitcoin stuff.
Yeah, this is
But if
just
I'm
showing that it's trending. Bitcoin's market cap was trending toward $1 trillion, and it overtook silver. That those data points aren't actually on the chart. You can't see them because this was an old chart, but you can see that on the left there, the market value that goes up over time. That's just the market cap of Bitcoin, and so
right,
each data point is registering its trend up, and the red and the black is just the power regression line.
yeah, what I was thinking was that regression is what the fair value point is going to be across time. And if you can see these different little clusters that they got highlighted here, these yellows right on top of the Bitcoin monthly data, right? What's happening at those colored clusters is when Bitcoin overcomes a certain market value of a respective network that currently exists. Right? I don't really get how they're defining this last one, but all right. I'm
I think
guessing they're
that's like
comparing
future,
it.
maybe
I don't know, maybe
financial
stock to
asset.
something. Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty generic term,
Yeah.
right? That's the problem.
Maybe cluster 3 E gold. Seems kind of low to be E gold.
I don't know. I mean, this is who knows how old this chart is. Maybe it's not up to date. Hard to say.
Definitely older, yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Cool. Well, let's see your charts.
All right, let's get to that. It's all right. So these are the latest charts. I'll throw them in the chat, so people can see or have the link if they need.
Check them out at whalesonly.com.
Yeah, worldonly.com/charts. And please check out the banner that's scrolling at the bottom. I'm sorry, I should have started the stream with this because it's that important. That's why that banner's there. It will always stay there. That important. It's more important than anything else that I'm sharing, because if you don't do those, then anything else that I'm sharing is going to become completely redundant and irrelevant because you just got jacked. So, yeah. All right. So Hex chart said, let me, there we go, make it look pretty. All right. So this is for today's crossover. And as you guys know, this is all based on public information that's readily available. You can recreate these charts yourselves, but you guys like to let me do them. So thank you. And here is what we've been seeing since this point in time, right? And that's what it's about. It's about letting the flags play out, understanding the big picture, letting the suckers sell their bags so you can pick them up while they walk away thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. And then, bye bye. See you later, sucker. because this game is designed for the patient, not for the impatient. And it actually doesn't matter what asset class you hold in that regard. If you're not patient, right? And in case you don't want to believe me, here's Ethereum. Okay, this is this one. Give me a second. There we go. This is just one. Let's go to non-crypto stuff, just so you guys understand. I'm trying to make a real point. Let's zoom in this crew because that was that. Okay, so this here. Let's talk about this for a second because this is macro talk overall, and this is very important to everything that's going on and is related. What happened? Give me a second, guys. All right. So what happened on that day is that the crude oil markets basically went negative. Now, why did this happen? Happened because the market was selling off, and that's what happens when markets are not structured upon the physical market, right? Like we all know that these futures markets are paper products. They're not really based on the real thing. If they were, they would have never went negative that day. So in essence, that was the death of the dollar, the petrodollar on that date. Now you guys never heard me mention it like that before, but that's basically what that was. So there you go. This is why we've been seeing, this is why I've been seeing this rampant inflation, right? And it's not a coincidence it happened after the COVID dip, right? This was April 2020. That's March, right? Crude was already on a downtrend at this point in time. In fact, let's slide the chart over so it makes more sense to people. There we go. So this is what was happening from the beginning of the year. Now, from a macro perspective, and I'm probably going to start a Substack, by the way, but more details on that coming soon because it's gonna be kind of a function of this. Because I can do these streams all the time, but in reality, this is stuff you guys got to read. You know, macro, the game that we're playing is macro. And the reason I say that is because everything that's happening in the world matters. And the more we try to ignore it, the more that it matters because the world doesn't stop turning, right? And this is a pure sign of that, right? I bet whoever was long this from here thought they were golden, and then came January and they completely changed that whole frame of thought. And this started with all the China stuff. This is how I knew from back in December. Because look, it's only January 2020. But if you're an astute market watcher and you understand how the game works, you know that you got to be out there looking for shit that's gonna throw the market off sides. That's how real markets work, or at least legacy finance markets. Okay, they're predicated on news, drive, and information. Okay, so this is how I'm able to find all these crazy things that I post on Twitter because I've been doing this for 10 years. I didn't just start. So something else you have to understand: you don't just learn to find information on the internet just because it's on there. It's not actually how it works. So buyer beware. So we started off in January, right? And we dumped all the way into April from, let me see, 63 bones, $63, right? In January. All the way to freaking 18, 19 bucks, 20 bucks. Let's make it an even 20. So from 60 to 20 is a 66% drop. How you like them apples? This is what happens when you lay over a commoditized market, paper markets. This is what happens. For those of you wanting derivatives and all this bullshit on Hex, nah, we're not rocking with that. And this is why. If you have a problem with that, good luck. Can't help you because it just ain't happening. Right? Like, you can't have that kind of shit going on here. And this is why we have these streams. This is why we have these discussions. It's very important. People have to understand the big picture. Right? This is how people get wrecked. They get wrecked by not paying attention to the things that matter. Now, back to the topic at hand. right? All markets, well, except for the dollar, right? Let's just skip that one. But as you can see, E-mini S&P up and to the right. As we all know, gold not so much because they can't have that, right? And we talk about this a lot on a grander scale. If I was to zoom this out to say 3 days per candle, oh come on, man! I'm sure you guys can hear the fans in the background now because they're working.
Oh yeah, I can hear him.
Yeah. So as you
Not
guys
too
see,
bad, brother. Faint.
yeah. Well, magically, some people have this robotic hearing that
Like
allows them
ultra
to pick up.
sensitive, yeah.
Yeah, because they be hearing shit that I
It
don't
can
even
be
hear. I'm
bad if
like,
you turn up your
man,
volume. You just keep your volume at the right level. But
yeah. I mean, hey, man,
might have to
I'm
get
not
you a
there,
mic
so
though,
I can.
brother. Might have to get you one.
Yeah. I'll get one at some point. I just gotta care enough to just sit there and do it.
Hmm.
Uh,
Been busy, man. You've been grinding out the charts and much more.
yeah,
Streaming and
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah, Mike isn't really priority, but I get it. I get it.
It is for your
So here's
viewers'
gold,
ears.
right? Yeah. You know, if they want the content, you gotta let the man
And
focus on what he wants.
it's a give and a take.
It's
It's
one of
all
those
good things.
things. It's one of
It's
those
like a good
things.
marriage,
Yeah. You don't want to hear that, motherfucker, but you gotta hear that,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
yeah. You might not like me, but you're stuck with me for 55,
Right,
55, baby.
right. Oh man, but gold, right, is one of those things we always talk about. And I'll write something on this because it's important people to understand. We know where gold should be, right? Gold should be at thousands of dollars at a minimum, and I don't mean 2,000 where it's nearby. I mean, 5,000 and up at a minimum. Yeah, and really higher, really 5 figures, because that's how much printing has been going on, right? And we can go to what is it called, national. Yep, has all this data readily available just for you. Dollar to silver, dollar to gold. So let's wait for this bad boy to load. $19,627 per ounce. So they're lying by a factor of 9, right? 90% or 900%, however you want to call it, right? Because it should be at 19,000, but yeah, 90%, over 90% really. But it's at 1,818. So that's what you call alpha. A funky little 10x for those of you that hold the gold. But in all seriousness, um, this is why we talk about what is actually going on, right, with the dollar and understanding that markets just move like this, right? Even copper, it's going to look like that, right? Up and to the right for the last 10, 12 years. We're already seeing lumber do its thing lately, right? From a low of 150 back in 2009 all the way to 1600 2021, back down to 517, right? Nat gas, same deal, up and then down. All right, well, this one looks like it's been a little affected by supply more than not. Ah, no, still up and to the right. All right. We already know NASDAQ, Russell, silver, right? Even rates, okay? Once you sit there, right, they've been going down. That's the same thing as up in terms of the price of the instrument. That's pricing that down movement in the interest rate. And then when we get to commodities such as food, we'll see that we had a nice little down swath over time. And then as soon as all the institutions got out, right, it ripped. Usually how it works. But then if you scroll further back, right, you go back to the 90s, 2000s, it had an even lower level. And boom, it ripped, right? And this is a function of inflation, guys. This is all a function of that. And that's why we're going over it, because it's the same thing that we're going to see in crypto. It's the same thing that we've been seeing. And it's just how it works. And this is why we go over it, right? It's important to understand. If you look at any random stock, unless it's a piece of, crapola like this, it's going to look like that. right? At least up to some degree. This is just a representation of oil, so we don't really want to look at that. I don't know what this is. These were just random stocks that I was looking at one point in time. But as you guys can see, all of them, right, which is, I'm pretty sure, alarming for some of you, don't look like that, which is what they want you to believe. But no, it's not the case. Sorry. All right. So back to crypto stuff. So this is why anybody that sells Hex is a wrecked pleb. I mean, how many more sellers do you need to see for this to be obviously a problem? Moving on. Oh, come on, man. So annoying. All right. All right, any economy. My favorite one. So, what is any economy? Any economy, whether municipal level, right, your local town, all the way up to international, is a pie, right? And it consists of the private sector, which are the small businesses that comprise, or the big businesses that comprise that economy, right? Wherever transactions are conducted between two parties or more are an economy, right? Because that one event is going to constitute an amalgamation of all these individual events, which then in total aggregate, right, create an economy. This is one of those things that they teach you in macro. It's like very 101-ish, right? And this is what aggregate demand or GDP is supposed to represent, blah, 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 blah. But that we all know isn't true. I already debunked that. It's just fun numbers for them. And this is important to understand. So what's happening here in reality is that while you have the value creators creating the pie in its entirety, which is the pink, the yellow comes into play because it's the public sector, right? You have the private, which creates the value, the public, which detracts value by facilitating civilization in between quotes, right? And that's what taxes are for. That's where the taxes come in, right? But if you live in the Western world, you know your tax is 30% if you're lucky. Because we all pay more than that, right? Anytime a dollar moves, you pay more than 30% after you tally it all up, right? Because just based on your income alone, you're probably getting taxed at least 15%, and that's on the lower end of the scale, right? The average person is getting taxed at 20%. Jarring, but true. And that's low level, right? They're not making any money. But these are the things that we have to understand. So the important thing about this chart is that we determine what's paid and what's not. They can't do that. The reason they do is because we don't know we have that power. So you do, but it's on you to educate yourself to find out why and how. I could talk about it all day, but if you don't do or say anything, they're just going to keep doing and saying whatever they want to do. And this is the whole point. So please educate yourself. Now, into the top 100 of the market cap dominance for crypto. And we'll start with the 17th of August, which is approximately 13 days ago, about same time as it is right now, interestingly enough. And Hex is at 5.04%. And as we scroll through time, remember that Hex kind of went sideways and down for a little while. We have 4.93 there, 5.6 on the up move there a couple of days ago. And today we're at 5.66 as we're a little higher, but we rolled over. I'm pretty sure at some point we crossed over that 6% mark. Right, it had to be inevitable because we went all the way up to 24 cents, I think, if I remember correctly. So here we go into the first 623 days live, and what this chart is comparing is the first 623 days of each crypto instance here. Right, first 623, the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hex, and the T-shares index. And we already talked about the T-shares a little bit, so I'm not going to dive too much into them again, because everything is going to pretty much be the same. But as we can see, 600 days in, Hex is clearly dusting the competition. It's not even a race. It's not even funny. Like, it's clearly 25-1 and 100-1. So we're just going to move on and not gloat. It's been fun, guys. Hex posted payday. So we're at day 285. Hex has hit that 4,000 level. We're now currently at 4,256. First halving is at 971. 972 rounding up. Third and second for Bitcoin are at 600 and 184 respectively. So what is this chart showing? Because I kind of explained it and I suck at doing this because I should always go into what is actually going on first and not just start babbling. But hey, here we are. So this chart is comparing the Bitcoin halvings that we've had so far, first, second, and third, in terms of performance in an indexed fashion in conjunction with Hex, since one and only Bitcoin type of inflationary event, which was the big payday, which I detailed earlier. So if you missed it, please rewind. But the price since that point in time, because it ran up into the 1st of November, then it dumped into big payday, and then it's been nothing but a ride ever since. And that's what the pink is highlighting here on this chart. And as you can tell, it's dusting the rest of the Bitcoin halvings by a minimum of 4-1. And we'll keep moving and not gloat. Here we have the T-shares to ETH and Bitcoin. T-shares to ETH in pink and T-shares to Bitcoin in orange. And T-shares to ETH are at a whopping 36% rounding up. Who's counting, right? Whereas T-shares to Bitcoin are at 7%. Just sustaining that value and slightly encroaching a little closer on Bitcoin's so-called dominance as it languishes on. It's just holding on by a thread. We can see it. Because the funny thing is, which a lot of people really don't talk about, what does index mean? I haven't seen this in a while. So I did a video on this. It's one of the first ones. Please go back and watch it. I go into what an index is and what all these charts are saying. So please go back and watch it. Because it's important. Now, all this information is for free, of course, but if people want to pay for it, hell, I'll put a course together. Why not? It's unbecoming, but fuck it. People like to give money away. Why not take it and convert it into T-shares? So an index, in short, is when you take the return of something. So let's go back. Okay. So if you look at the right side of this margin, I have here index for each one. And then I annotate that 100 is basically the starting value for each one. You got the Bitcoin halvings and the big payday for Hex. So everything started at 100. So it's everything over 100. So 4,256 over 100. Or 4,156 if you want the return. Same thing for here. You would subtract the 100, subtract the 100, subtract the 100, and there's your actual return. Because that's the same thing as taking a value in Excel, dividing it by the newest value, and subtracting a 1. If that's too mathy, then I'm sorry. But that's just where we're at. So we're going to keep it moving. Saludos, mi hermano. Saludos. So we're going to get into the Hex Stock to Flow tracker. Here we're talking about the dollar cost of 10,000 Hex, the dollar cost of a T-share, and the APY, and the T-share rate. So where does the T-share rate come from? The T-share rate comes from dividing the dollar cost of a T-share, which is at 4,135, by the dollar cost of a 10,000 Hex, which is 2,212 with 29 cents at the current point in time. And that yields 1.85, yada, yada, right? Once you do those values. I mean, in reality, it doesn't yield that. That's just what it is at this point in time. What you get from these values is a forward T-share rate. And we'll get into forwards at some point in the future. I'm working on that. I do have the data. I just have to do a video and explain it because this is something that crypto people are not used to. No such thing exists in this market, but it applies here. And I'll go into a couple of minutes of why. This is the current T-share rate. Okay. What's happening is that in real time, this was the dollar cost literally 3 hours ago when I was recording the data. Okay. So while this was the rate today, When you take these values, let's do it right now, 4,100. 135 divided by 2212 equals, we're going to get a 1.86 something. All right. So 1.86 something multiplied by 10,000 because that's the base rate. Oops. Here we go. Boom. So we got 18,693. Right. So then you would take this 18,545. So basically, your forward rate or your forward delta is 148. Okay. So the forward T-share rate would be 18,000, just like we saw, 18,545 plus 148, which we already calculated, right? 18,693. So that's how that works. And that's just a representation of what is value and what is expensive at a certain point in time, right? Let's think about it. I just gave you the present actual T-share rate based on the figures that the system is printing, aka what you are paying for a T-share right now. Oh man, I can't wait to do this video. Woof, you guys are gonna love it. All right, APY 37.67, and we'll talk about that towards the end. But I have just explained where the T-share rate comes from, why it matters, right? We already discussed that this is what you require in order to acquire a T-share, and a T-share is how you get interest in the system. And we'll get into that because this is exactly where it comes from. Payout per T-share sum. Now, this orange line is a cumulative sum, meaning all the T-share payouts paid. Now, let's go go.hex.com. Little water break, excuse me. All right. So there's this thing called a payout for T-share, right? And what I did was, let me rephrase. Let me start over. A payout per T-share is what you get from owning a T-share. Okay? So you get a T-share, you receive 5.819 hex today. Now, while a T-share might cost 4,000 today and it only pays 5.8 hex, which is something that seems like a reasonable complaint, you must understand that at one point in time it paid nothing. Paid less than 1 cent a day. In fact, at some point in time. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the cost of a T-share, right? Here we go. At one point it was 60 cents. And people were earning nothing. So it's all relative. Important. All relative. So what is this chart showing? Because I love to talk about this chart. And this is a great comment. Richard created something that's from the traditional market that works better, way better than the traditional market. And that's a fact, not an opinion. The math makes it so. And it's a function of the logic. Nothing else you need to agree with. Just what it is. It does what it does. Can't be refuted. Can't be this. I mean, like, it is what it is, right? So it's important people understand that. All right. So as you guys notice, here is when the system kind of takes off and never looks back, right? So if we scroll back, sorry. Something basically happened here. Oh no, basically happened here. Sorry. Basically happened 100 and it looks like 15 or so days after big payday is when this happened. That's what it looks like. Yeah, because big payday was like right here. 353. This is day 440 something around thereabouts. So yeah, 100 days and it took off, and it has never looked back since, right? And this is a function of what value is there to do. This whole time, the system was battling inflation, right? And we see that, right? So the T-share rate, the APY, right? We see that the dollar cost of a T-share, right? All of these things that over time were just there. And it's important to understand that they were there for a reason, because now the system is operating how it's supposed to. Okay, and that happened merely less than 100 days, less than 120 days after Big Payday. Now, this chart is the HEX payout index metrics. And what's going on here is that this is essentially the return value minus 100, as I just explained, from just being staked. Now sit back and chew on that as a return. That's a real return. That's what you get for ignoring the haters and just doing the math. 200,000%. I'll get to your question in a second, Anna, because that's what they'll try. And that's why it's important to know the facts. So there we got that. I'm sorry, it's hard to see. Big payout Patricia index 527, basically saying that the system has increased in value 500x or 5x, sorry, since inception, because at one point again it was doing nothing, right? And it's important that we understand that as we enter the system, because when we enter the system, it's the same for us. When I entered right about here. System was doing nothing at that point in time. It wasn't even at 100,000 on an index basis as far as the return goes, right? Payout for T-shirt was trash, right? Compared to what it is now, it was like 2 to 3x or something crazy like that. Like, I don't even remember. It was just not what it is now, and that's something people have to understand. Things change. Oh, sorry, I didn't go over the last one. Daily payout index is essentially the hex that the system prints out, and it's at 17,290. So this is basically saying that the system has gone up 170x since inception. Now, show me a farming system or whatever, liquidity pool or whatever, that's generated this level of return. Nothing else, just return. Versus this. I'll wait. Hex payout metrics, posted payday. So what we're looking at here is just the payout per T share, as we just went over, which for today's payout was at 5.82 hex. And here is a daily payout, which is the hex that the system mints every day. And, well, it doesn't mint it, sorry. It's what the system generates every day and pays to the staker class. Okay, if you have a T-share, you get a slice of this payout from the system, which comes in the form of a payout per T-share. And that's how that works. Okay. Now, this is the everybody gets paid chart, which is basically just the hex price, which ends up being sandwiched between all these payout per T-share averages. Right, we got 14.142 for the all-time average payout per T-share. We have the payout per T-share average of 55 days at 6.014. We have the payout per T-share average for 28 days at 5.856, which is slightly above the current payout. Oh, I didn't update this. I'm sorry. This is supposed to say 22.12 cents, but you guys already know that. All right, so this is a chart that I didn't get to update, but this is something that is important. But I'll talk about this for a second. So I'll let you read it. I'm not going to say it out loud, but it's important you read it and try to understand what this is saying, because this is something that we're dealing with at this point in time, right? Like, they don't want people to communicate. They don't want people to share truths and realities of what's actually going on, because the goal is total control. Now, this is where crypto comes in. Now, people can try to ignore it all they want. Oh, the mad gains, blah, blah, blah. Sure, I get it. But the reality is that if you don't understand what's going on, you will get fudded out of your money. And that is exactly what's going on here. Because if something were to happen and the system were to go down, so what? You couldn't use fiat any damn way. What fiat system outside of cash works with no? Hey, hold on. Even cash requires a register the last time I checked. So what system that transfers value, that currently exists does not require electricity? Yeah, there isn't one. And that's the point. So, fears decimated. You're welcome. Prediction on Hex at the end of the year. Well, right now, my prediction is at 10. And I'm banking that on basically a lot of catalysts. You have the dollar continuing to get destroyed. You have the macro environment continuing to look weak. You have the crypto market continuing to operate on what seems to be, let's see here. I mean, this could be a dip to 42K that allows it to be bought. But until that actually happens, I'd be wary, because a long-term picture is not as nice as the short term, and I'll show you guys that in a second. So yeah, so right now the market is being pumped because there's more tether than market cap and volume, which should not exist. Just go to nomics.com and look at everything else and you'll see what I mean. So if we go to a 5-day look, the resistance. It's not in a bull mode. And this is math for you. These are proprietary. I don't share these. So this is math. It either busts through it or it doesn't, and it reverses. That's it, right? Like, this is all it does. Bust through it. See what I mean? Or it reverses. Bust through it. Or it reverses. So, not looking so good. And this is what I'm talking about, right? Not looking good. But if you put it on a short time frame, looks like it's holding up. It's looking strong, right? Oh, it's looking bullish. Bull flag. And yes, it does look bullish. Yes, my indicators are saying be long. But you must have backup, right? This is my backup. This is how I use these indicators. I use them as backup because they don't lie. They're based on price, but price is my number one. So when price isn't giving me a clear picture, I like to rely, on the backup, which is the indicators. And that's how I use them. They're not my primary. Never are. But to me, the price structure looks weak. The chart looks weak. A W has already happened, and we've already gotten the move from the W. That's this move multiplied by 2, and that's basically that. So, yeah. Dollar, let's see what the dollar's doing. The dollar's still also in bull mode. The question is it really going to hold on or not? Hard to say. As of right now, it looks like it's going to hold. But we really don't know, because it whipped up and it reversed, right? So let's see. 5-day probably doesn't look bullish. Oh, okay, doesn't look that bearish actually. Because it broke through one level, and if it breaks through one, it could break through both. It's just a matter of how it goes about doing it. So back to the charts. So okay, Expiring shares. Expiring shares again are what causes the T-share rate to go up, which in turn forces people to want to acquire or to have to acquire more hex if they want to acquire a T-share, which is how they pay out per T-share. Okay? So across time, what you would see in these charts is that the beginning month is typically going to be the present month, August in this case. And then the next one after is going to be slightly below, but hard to see. And in this case, it's September. And then October would be the lowest one in this case, which is the case here. And then November, then December. Okay, so that's a little layout. So just pay attention to the end of the year. As we scroll across, I don't have the data for the day. It's down. They're probably doing maintenance or something. But I think the last data point I have was for the 27th. So it's not even that old. Let's see. It goes up a little bit. Goes down for August. Goes up elsewhere. Yeah, it goes up elsewhere. Just slightly ever so. And the important thing about this chart is that as these sticks end, right, this is what's driving up the T-share rate. This is what's driving up the T-share rate. So it's important to understand that. Yeah, I get that. But you got to understand, the world has changed and things are changing. Until you are able to actually have control of the monetary system, which we do not have, silver and gold are not doing you any favors. Simple. Important people understand that. While that is true, the actual problem is that we do not control our money. Crypto is the only way you get that back, period. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here yapping for 3 hours. I'm breaking all math down. I'm not sharing anything else. This is about math. It's about reality. It's not about some hoopla, do crazy shit. No. The world has changed, man. The world is not what it was 500 years ago. It's not what it was 100 years ago. In 1933, the United States government decided, and I did a special on this, go back and look, decided that it was okay for them to take your gold and silver. So no, the world has changed. You are incorrect, sir. It has changed. Correct. That's what needs to happen. So it honestly doesn't matter what you want to think. The math makes the answer pretty clear. And in case you forgot, let's make it okay. Yeah, well, it's important that we understand the big picture. Having silver and having gold is cool, but it doesn't do anything for you. Because at this point in time, the objective is to capture the flag. We lost the flag, right? So if you own silver at 29 bucks or whatever it costs now, that's your discount. If you're buying gold at 1800 bucks, that's your discount. But good luck getting it and thinking that that's what you're going to get, because it's never going to happen, period. And that's my point. That's my point. Right? We all know what money has been, but this is a different ball game. Computers are involved. We have another dimensionality involved in this game that we have to respect and understand. I didn't want to respect it or understand it until I decided that I had to. My recommendation to all is that they also do it, because the math doesn't care. So respect that. All right, so this the next two charts are the same. All-time hex versus all-time versus Ethereum and Bitcoin with respect to correlation. And the data's for today. Yeah. No. I get that. You're missing my point. My point is you have to do one in order for the other to matter. You have to do one in order for the other to matter. You go ahead and try to buy something in gold and silver. Let me know how that works out for you. That's my point. People are not going to look at gold, and most people don't even understand what gold and silver are. And that's the point. Something physical is hard for people to wrap their head around its importance because they don't deal with it on a daily basis. Right? Everybody understands gasoline. Everybody understands cash. Nobody understands gold and silver for that exact reason. So while you're correct, you're also incorrect. And it's important to understand why, because I was in the same boat. I was a gold bug and blah, blah, blah. No, doesn't work that way. Things change. And you have to change with the times. Elsewise, you get left behind. Just how it works. So here's what's going on in this chart. You have R squared on both, which is a function of the actual inflation, correlation, which is 0. And interestingly enough, this keeps going further and further out. And I'm just going to start leaving the scientific notation. This is 8 zeros and a 6. So yeah. So that's correlation. Second thing I want you to notice is that the returns are on the X and Y axes. X for Hex and Y for Ethereum and Bitcoin. Next is I want you to notice that each dot plot is a return for the respective point in time for both Hex and Bitcoin or Ethereum, whichever one I'm comparing the chart against. In this case, it would be like 65 to 24%, minus 24%, because that's what this is showing, right? I forgot I was supposed to scale this down. Okay, I'll scale this down at some point. Like remove these big outlier data points and this one to kind of make the chart look more expansive and give the grouping a better, closer look. So what you're seeing is that the majority of the Hex returns are on the right side of the 0, whereas the Ethereum returns and Bitcoin returns. So you see Hex is the same regardless whether you're looking at it versus Bitcoin or Ethereum, but Ethereum and Bitcoin look sloppy, right? You got the returns all over the place. They're not positively skewed, meaning they're great, mostly above 0, right? For Hex is mostly to the right of 0 with respect to its axis, whereas Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're all over, right? This is important to understand. Supremely important. Because when a professional sits down and they just do this, they're not going to waste their time with anything else. The decision is clear. The next thing they have to do is just figure out everything else is going on. But where you're going to allocate your capital, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Just did it. 2.5 seconds. So this chart is rolling correlations chart. Here we have the dollar cost of a t-shirt versus the dollar cost of Hex and their respective correlation. As you can see, the 55-day correlation is 99.9999999 something else percent, meaning 1. Meaning as long as this keeps going up, this got to keep going up. I already broke it down. Let's do it one more time. It's a 3-step process. First, or actually, I'm going to give it to you in 5 steps. First step is end stake. Second step is system recalibrates number of T-shares required to acquire a T-share, i.e. T-share rate goes up. Third step, system recalibrates T-share rate. Fourth step, forces people to pay more for a T-share in dollar terms. Step 5, forces people to acquire more Hex, i.e. forces the price to go up. There's your 5-step process. And that's how the rolling correlation matters with respect to the price of Hex. And here we have the dollar terms chart, I guess is what I like to call it, because I don't have a better name. Current price for Hex was 22.12 cents at the time, 21.69 now. So slightly down. Payout per T-share was with respect to 5.82 Hex paid out today and this respective price. So we're over $1.25. Easy peasy. I mean, this is great, right? People didn't even think we would see $1 this year. in my opinion, we're going to see it in short order. Definitely before the next 40 days, in my opinion, or the next 120, since the end of the year. Definitely before the end of the year, we're going to see $1. As soon as we hit public testnet with Pulse launch, right? This is a given. I mean, this is a given. So, take it for what it is. And what this chart is showing is the price of HEX, payout per T-share in dollar terms, right? And then I'm correlating it to each payout per T-share and each price, closing price. And the adjusted HEX value is merely the summation of both. And you need to notice is that the spread between the yellow and pink gets shorter over time. What this basically means is that the down move in HEX is always going to be short, if it even happens at all. And if it does, it's going to be so boring and annoying, like this most recent one, that it's not even going to make any sense. But it happens, right? It happens. Things go up and down. But at the end of the day, this chart is just tracking its leading indicators, which are the yellow and pink line, right? We're at 25 cents, 22. Basically, we hit 24 today. Excuse me. And this is a target. It's been a target for a long time. And now we're just clearing out space to head to 50, then 75, then $1, now $1.25, right? That's all we're doing. We're just going to keep progressing. And this chart is just a function of the payout that we get on a daily basis versus 1 HEX. So 1 HEX divided by the earnings, which is payout per T-share. So basically, for every HEX that you own, you get 17%, right? For 1 HEX. Because the thing is, you have to realize, as the value for HEX increases, people have to consider where they're allocating their money, right? And this is where they're allocating the money, right? This is where people are allocating money. And what this is saying is that every about 2 months, your money's getting doubled. This is what this is saying. Because in a year, you're making 17% of your money back, or you're making your money back at 17% of a year, excuse me. So you're making it back 17%, then 17%, then 17%, right? That's not even 50, that's a little over 50%. So you still got 17 and 17. And maybe even one more 17 you can squeeze in there. I'm not sure. I'm not really doing the math in my head, but you get my point, right? It's like 5 point something, right? And that's important to understand. And here is the S&P 500 price to earnings ratio. 551% is what you would have to wait versus 17%. So, yeah. Here we have the HEX dollar cost versus the T-shares market cap. So what I did here is I took the dollar cost of a T-share, multiplied it by the total T-shares in the market. Okay, and I think that we're at 11, a little over 11 point, let's see. Yep, a little over 11 million trillion shares. So we're getting there. And I'll create that chart and post it later just so you guys can take a look. It'll be a little late because I got to get some food. I'm starving over here. And I think we got a couple more charts and we're about done. Give me a second. Today will be great. Come on. All right. This is the network effect chart, right? So this chart is just showing where we are in time with respect to the network effect. I mean, we're probably just about to break out now that we're above 20 cents and whatnot. It's making a little more sense to people that have been asleep at the wheel. And long story short, the network effect is what happens in all markets, right? Here I have Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Bitcoin all laid in, right? And they all look up and to the right. So, yeah. So here we have a graphical representation of the network effect in real time. What we have is total holders versus the price of HEX. And as you can see, this is kind of like a leading indicator. The more people that are holding, the higher the price is going to go because, of course, people are always going to sell. But the question is, how many sellers do we have in the market? And it's always a whole lot less than there are buyers. And that's the key, right? And it's not a coincidence that this is when the kink really took off and the total holders, right? And over time, we were just increasing because economic value is hard to hide. And this is a function of that as well. Was here, which was probably the last time I did a stream, that we're going to get a pump because that's what we've been seeing, right? And we got that pop. So the question is the staker class going to continue to carry price upward? Oh, and this looks like a typo. Yeah, that should be higher or lower. Sorry, that price is wrong. Sorry from the last time I made the chart. So I'll fix that since it's on the website. But these are things that are important to know, right? These are things that are very, very important to know because what's the alternative? The alternative is not having the right information and making the wrong decision, right? And we cannot afford that. We're not here for that, right? That's the whole point of watching this 2-3 hour stream, which is ridiculous. So all right. This is basically the last chart, guys. Thank you guys for sticking with me for these 3 hours. I appreciate your guys' diligence. And here we have the final one. I keep forgetting. How does the ROI in Hex work, right, when you're staked? And it says the coin staked as a function of the total supply, not the circulating supply. Okay, the total supply, unlike the market cap, not just the circulating supply. So if there's 650 million coins and 65 million are staked, then 10% is the staking percentage, meaning that the system is going to then pay out 36.9% on average, right? But if the system happens to be 60 million staked and it has 573 million coins like it is right now, right? And that means that the staking percentage is going to be a little bit less than 10%, right? Has to be. It's skewed towards the greater or the network. It's always going to be skewed towards the network, right? Well, what that means is that the quantity of coins that exist can't ever be greater than what people are willing to stake, right? So this is why when we take the number and we divide it, we have to look at it as what it is, right? Because we have to remember, you have the OA in there. The OA is pretty much liquid. So the majority of the coins that are staked, I think is probably like 87% or something like that, belong to the staker class. So while there's only 70% or whatever liquid, right, the portion that's liquid is majority staked. Important to understand that because this is the higher that line goes, this orange line, the higher this price is going to go. Because what that means is that there's going to be less hex to go around. Whole lot less hex to go around. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to educate yourself. If you have any other questions, of course, you know where to find me. I'm on Telegram at t.me/Whales Only. Also on the website, as you guys can see. Oh, you can't see it. Access is gone, so it's just me now. whalesonly.com. You need a consult. You're trying to step your game up, let me know. I got the knowledge. I will help you get there. It's a matter of what you want and what you're trying to do. So you can sign up for a free consult. That's free. Free. 15 minutes. And again, it's all about whether you want to learn or not. You can just ask questions. There's no gun to your head here. But of course, time is valuable and mine is very limited. So that's why I have to price myself. If not, people just be peppering me questions and thinking that that's just how it works. And that's just not how it works. So again, please take the time. I took it. Educate yourself. Ask yourself, how much is my time worth? Because that's a function of how much knowledge you have. Remember that. What is your time worth? That's what I'll leave you with at the end of this stream. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I appreciate your diligence. Your thirst for knowledge is what keeps me going, because as you are looking for more, I continue to look for more because I have to share it, right? And this is what it's all about. So, of course, I'm sorry for sucking at the chat. I'm sure you guys probably dropped me some more super chats that I missed or whatever. And I'm sorry that I missed it, but, you know, I'm here to do a job, right? And we all are as well. So thank you again. If there's anything you want to get to me, t.me/Wills Only on Telegram, on Twitter, twitter.com/Wills Only 1, like you see on the screen, and willsonly.com at the website. Thank you guys, and have a good night. Peace.